Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Loreweek. I am your host, and today we've got so many things to cover. I have 19 tabs open on my browser right now of stuff to cover. No joke, 19. A sleep stream. That's apparently a thing. I mean, there's eating streams, so having a sleep stream, I guess, isn't that weird. Yeah, it's funny. Some of you may know that I occasionally complain about not having, anything to talk about during lore weeks, so we have those really short lore weeks. And then we have weeks like this week where the TGS happened. I'm not even going to talk about the surprise mechanic thing yet, because that's kind of ongoing. I guess I could mention in brief that a commission at the UK came to the realization, and I'm going to say it that way because, let's just be honest, that surprise mechanics are in fact gambling, no matter what they label them. So, is that why I don't have a topic list up? Yes. I mean, I could wait another, 5 minutes to organize this into a topic list, or I could just go. I don't even know which of these we're going to be talking about at length. So, we're just going to go. We have a lot of stuff to talk about. Rex is supposedly going to be joining me at some point. Give me 1 second. I'm actually still setting up a few things in the background here. Music a little louder than normal, mostly because of the fact that I'm going to have Rex in a bit and I want him to be audible. Well, hello, Gillian, which I'm probably pronouncing incredibly wrong, but nevertheless, thank you very, very much for the sub. Much obliged and much appreciated, sir. Thank you. Now, I don't know if you know this, but you can, in fact, put that towards something, if you'd like to. Like, SJ keeps throwing these bits at me, and what is that, like a hot dog? What am I looking at, SJ? Yeah, no kidding, as it is. Either way, thank you very much, sir. And SJ, where would you like those bits to go to while I'm on the topic? It's a sub. Oh, ha, ha, ha. God, where to even start? Okay, let's start with the relatively little stuff. So we had a leak that SJ wanted to put that towards the GTA lore run, which I'm just gonna... I thought I had a thing for that. I guess I don't, so I'll just make another one. SJ and M. GTA lore run. We'll have Gillian, which I'm probably pronouncing wrong again. Jedi Academy. You got it, sir. Thank you again very much to both of you. Wouldn't it be awesome if Jedi Academy comes out on the Switch before we do that run? I'm almost playing chicken with it now. I mean, Jedi Academy 2 is coming out on the Switch, right? No thoughts whatsoever, Cool Walker. All right, so let's go down the list. Let's start with the relatively small stuff. So first we have, excuse me. First we have the fact that is it Jedi Knight 2? Dude, I don't know. They all blur for me. The Witcher TV show, the one that's coming out on Netflix, they leaked the release date as December 17th, and then they immediately shut it back down. So for those of you who care about that, there's, that's probably when the Witcher show is actually going to start going live. So get hype, winter's coming, etc. For those of you who care, Romancing Saga 3 got a release date. That's going to be showing up in November. It doesn't actually say the date. No, there it is. November 11th, right there. And there's also the other Saga game, which is coming out, called Saga Scarlet Grace Ambitions, which is coming out on December 3rd. I'm glad you're enjoying WoW Classic, Lord Harriman. I don't understand how you're enjoying it, but I am still glad you're enjoying it. I've come to the conclusion in the last year, Lord Harriman, that Classic is just black licorice. I can't understand why people enjoy it, but I can intellectually understand that people do enjoy it. So, I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. I have no idea how, but I'm glad you're enjoying it. We need more enjoyment in the world. Where the hell? I don't even have the thing up right now. God, you guys are killing me. Here we go. Okay, so that was from Alex, the insane. Thank you, Alex. Very, very much appreciated as always, sir. Thank you. What do we got here? So that's gonna go. Nikki. No, I didn't enjoy WoW Vanilla when WoW Vanilla was out, Ventures, as I've talked about many times. I don't want to go into it again. All I'm going to do is get people upset at me. So, moving on. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. That's the important part. What was I talking about? Saga. I just talked about Saga. For those of you who care about that, what else we got here? Where's my next item here? So, unfortunately, I don't have the footage for this that I would like to, because basically there's like 2 hours of footage. This is the wrong playlist. Hang on. There we go. I just realized we're on the wrong playlist. Yeah, let's just go to that. All right. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Jake Kaufman. It's just that's not the playlist for talking casually. Oh my God, Cody, you're killing me, people. I'm just, maybe I should just stop. Anyone else? Anyone else? It's not an invitation. It's just a question. So that's 11. Towards crash. You got it, Cody. No, save. Thank you very, very much, Cody. I was kidding! Well, like I said, Max Time, I got Young Justice done. I need to do about, I want to say 80 or so more episodes. I haven't even seen that tweet, Zillow, so I can't even comment on it. Thank you, Falderis. Much obliged the sub, sir. Do you know where you want to put that for future funding? For when we get back to streaming, which we won't be doing for probably about another. Like I said, I got about 80 episodes to do, which is going to be probably about 2 weeks, give or take, of work if I keep pace. And then I need to work on the mainline Friday ruminations, which at that point will be locked in, because for those of you not aware, you have 2 weeks as of tomorrow. Although honestly, I'm probably going to cut it off next Sunday. So you have two. Let's just make that official. You have 2 weeks as of today to finish voting on the floodgates for the next year. So in 2 lore weeks, that's getting chopped off, and a chance you haven't voted there yet. How I will handle it? Well, I'll play the game, and I'll give pluses and minuses. I don't understand the question, Max Time. Voot link, you go to Patreon, SJ, to the Patreon-only thing, and you vote on the Patreon-only thing. What game am I going to play later? None. I'm going to go right back to Star Trek. Apparently there's 2 games in that collection. How long are they? Because my knee-jerk reaction is to only play one of them. The first one. Kind of like how we're only playing Ace Attorney 2, even though I'm buying the collection. Or how I'm only playing Grandia 1, even though I'm buying the collection. So the automatic answer is we'll be playing the first one. The second one would be a separate thing, right? Isn't there, Venters? I haven't even gotten to the news yet. But yeah, I'm right. I'm right. Grandia 1 and 2 on the Switch. I'm right. Oh, Rax is ready. Hang on. Give me a moment here. No, I still can't start. In fact, speaking of which, before I still can't start, let me go and check that donation. God dang it, people. Oh, there's Rex. Okay. Hang on, you're not anything yet, because...
Yeah, no, I can see. I'm not anything yet.
Well, thank you very, very much, Gillian. I'm glad you liked the AC video. That was... Oof. It was a little heartrending, I'll be honest. Especially the end there. But, yeah, thank you very much, sir. Now... you can, of course, put that very large donation towards something if you'd like to. If you just want to put it towards the same thing, you know, Jedi Academy, that's up to you. But, you know, I thought I'd offer the address. Either way, thank you so much, Gillian. Much appreciated, sir. Thank you. Same thing is fine. You got it. You got it. Saved. Alright, so now I need to get Rax set up. Whoops, that's the wrong button. Fortunately, I already have...
My lighting is alright.
Well, I guess we'll find out in a second here. I've already got a template for you, so that's the good part.
That's good.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and bring that up, and your logo. There we go. Now the hard part. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, let's fix this. This is gonna be a second.
Do I need to adjust any of the lighting or anything?
We'll find out in a second. Because right now I need to just crop. There's... Looks like the top is a little off. Give me a second to work with this. Yes, apparently they're doing a lot of crafting stuff with FF14. Who knew? Although I only glanced myself. Okay, let's pull him. There he is. There's Rax. He's out of position, but he's there. There we go. We're good. We got him. We got him.
Good.
So, do I have... I don't, because I'm stupid. Pick a location in Witcher 3, real quick.
You talking to me?
Yes, I'm talking to you.
I haven't played Witcher 3 yet. I know.
Lake, woods,
I know.
Frozen, Assassin's Creed, town, vineyard, walkway, mountain, city. Pick one.
Go with the vineyard.
Got it. Okay, so I've barely started because people keep giving me money, but I do want to slam some of these really quick things out. If you have any comments, just feel free to poke in here, Rax. I've already mentioned Saga 3 and Saga, the other one, Grace. Scarlet Grace's release dates. Dragon Quest Monsters is getting an announcement on the Switch in September 17th. That's actually this week.
Yeah.
That is the GBC one, for those of you who are not aware of that.
It's good.
It is a good game. No word on a port yet. However, they also recently announced the collection of Dragon Quest 1 through 3 on the Switch, which does have an English option. No word on a port.
Yeah, that's
but
only in Asia for the time being.
We're kind of hoping. We're all just kind of like, come on. Because they've been pretty good about releasing Dragon Quest over here for the last few years,
Yep.
so... Fingers crossed. Next thing, so Yakuza 7, also known as Yakuza Like a Dragon, looks really, really, really good. So
I might actually pick this one up.
this is, for those of you not aware, this is a turn-based game that is an RPG, full-on RPG. It has classes, it has summons, it has Geludo giving me $5 for some reason. What are you doing, Geludo?
It's a great feature. I love that feature.
Every time I play the game, Geludo gives me $5. It's the weirdest thing. I'm like, all right, so I'm just going to sit down and play this, and Geludo's like, oh, I sense it. Oh, 5, not 2. Super Mario Brothers 2. Thank you very, very much, Geludo. And I've put that towards Super Mario Brothers 2. Thank you. Yes, there's summons. I really wish I had a good clip to show you. It's hilarious. But So I'm just going to try to describe this as best as I can. You do this. Hang on, let me pull up my phone. So he's like, okay, sure, and then, he slams the phone down, and then a lobster shows up. And then a whole lot of lobsters show up, and the guy's like, no! And the lobster pinches the hell out of his nose in this incredibly over-the-top animation. And then walks away going...
For those of you who are unaware, I've been passively interested in Yakuza. I've talked with Scene about it, and he's tried to get me into it. But I just haven't had time. But this one might actually get me into the series.
I was talking to Pax about it. Near as we can tell, they've just decided to absolutely embrace the silly with this one, and we're both like, yes, go for it. What else? They're gonna have Dragon Kart. It's Mario Kart, and when I say that, I want to stress what I mean by that, because Mario Kart's not just a franchise; it's a genre of racing game. So we've got it's cartoony, ridiculous. Yeah, it looks awesome. So, God, what else? There was something else that they mentioned. They've got other things. They have cameos. They have other types of summons. They have a delivery help system. It costs money to do summons, so that's how that works.
Wow, what a ripoff!
It's in-game DLCs, pay to win. No, anyways. God, what else? All right, so now Blackfile just brought this up, so I suppose I should mention that Assassin's Creed Odyssey has the Discovery Tour mode, which just went live last week. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and say this very bluntly. I did not like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and having re-examined the game since it came out, I still don't like it, but I am absolutely in favor of Discovery Tour mode, and by all accounts, I haven't reinstalled it because it's a huge game, but a friend of mine has reinstalled it and checked it out, and it does look like they've done a good job with Discovery Tour as usual. As Blackville points out, they have changed the method of it, so it's no longer you hit a point and then you get a little speech thing. Instead, you can just go at it at your own pace or activate the narrator thing at your own pace. So, and they've also gotten rid of the voiceover problem, but that's a good thing because that was the only negative to Discovery Tour for the original one. So that looks awesome. Yeah, it looks awesome. There's a new Resident Evil game that was announced called Project Resistance. Now, I've talked about this many times. I actually like the concept of asymmetrical multiplayer, but it very rarely is actually good because of how hard it is to pull off. Now, Project Resistance, since I kind of prefaced that, is an asymmetrical multiplayer game. One side is playing as, to put it simply, Umbrella, and the other side is playing as the people trying to live and survive. So one side gets to do things... in fact, actually, I got another thing here for it, don't I? No, that's the Netflix thing. Where is it? Resident Evil. I have so many tabs open right now, you have no idea. Here we go. The Mastermind, that's the one who's playing the Umbrella person. You have a certain amount of points that you can spend. You can spend these to spawn enemies. You can do it to spend enhancers to buff them. The very most expensive thing is you can actually spawn Mr. X, the Tyrant, that is to say. You can also directly take control of the Tyrant to actually play as him. Otherwise, you're bouncing through cameras. Bouncing through security cameras to see where the enemy is. Now, the enemy, that is to say the other players, the team, they obviously have the usual Resident Evil kit. However, if they take out security cameras, that can remove one of your avenues of access. It does sound pretty cool. I'll actually give them that. It's based on the Resident Evil 2 Remake engine, the new Capcom engine, which is really awesome. And it appears to be based in Resident Evil 2's area, near as I can tell. I do have a little bit of footage here, but I'm not going to show it to you because screw you. But it does look very cool. It is not coming out on the Switch, which is a damn shame because that is built for the Switch. But it is coming out on everything else. So, yeah, cool game, probably not worth $60. Death Stranding got an actual gameplay footage thing, which I'm also not going to show you. Because it's funny. It's 48 minutes long.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, the reason I'm not showing you this one is it's 48 minutes long. For those of you not aware, we have officially and formally added this to the Forbidden List for the reasons I mentioned. On the off chance you didn't hear those reasons, it's because I cannot promise to finish the game because it's pretty squicky to me, and I'm not going to take money for starting a game that I'm not certain I can finish. It's the same reason I vet every game I look into. That being stated, he did show off more actual gameplay other than going from point A to point B. And I will admit, it's certainly more substantial than I was looking at last time. There is actual combat. There's vehicle sections. I'm just kind of skipping through. I guess I could actually pull the footage up for you really quick, just so you can see what I'm saying. Give me a second. There you go. So as you can see here, there was a vehicle right back here, I think. Yep, here we go. So as you can see, there is actual vehicle. One of the big mechanics of the game is weight. As in the amount of weight you can carry, the amount of weight you are carrying, and that affects apparently several different things. I'm still going off of vague translations for this one, because a lot of this stuff hasn't been fully translated into English. So, there's only so much I can do about that. It is the Tokyo Game Show, after all. What else was I going to talk about? There's another thing. There's weird stuff happening. Sorry for being redundant.
You know, it's kind of funny. I had a friend of mine come to me a couple days ago after they showed this, or no, was it just yesterday? Yeah, it must have just been yesterday. And he watched the whole 45-minute thing, and he's like, Tyler, I need you to answer something for me. Do you know what the hell's going on in this game? I've been following this game for 3 years. I have no idea what the hell's going on with this game. Do you know? And I'm just like, no, man.
No.
Nobody knows.
Yeah, it's a weird post-apocalypse. That's all we got so far.
Yeah.
That's about it. So here's the what has been referred to as the bulk of the gameplay. No, seriously.
I do find it really strange that, like, we still have very little idea of what this game is going into it.
I'm going to be blunt. We're probably not going to know all that much about what this game is about after it's out.
Okay, yeah, true. It is Kojima.
So anyways, what else? So let me pull that back down. Where's my notes? God, I have so many things to talk about. Certain sections of the world can be infested full-time. They're called BTs. I don't remember what that stands for. You have to connect areas to the chiral network. Not sure what's exactly going on with that. I guess that's all I got for Death Stranding. So, Death Stranding, woo! Oh yeah, that's coming out on November 8th, by the way. So that's actually not that far off at this point. Although it is unfortunately a PS4 exclusive, but whatever. I've already talked about Project Resistance. So this one is actually has a special place in my heart. And I know nobody else in the entire universe cares, but Mega Man Zero ZX Legacy Collection is coming out on the Switch. I am amazingly hyped about this, so let me explain what this is really quick. First of all, on the GBA there was a series of games called Mega Man 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, what's unusual about this, and there's actually a story behind this, I don't want to bore you with the details. The long and the short of it is, it's one game, but they stretched it out into 4 because of various reasons. What I mean by it's one game is, it is 4 separate Mega Man games with 4 separate, with 8 bosses each and an end boss and blah blah blah. But it is one cohesive story. If you put this into one chunk, it would play as one game, which, by the way, is a mode that they're adding to this thing. You will be able to play MMZ all the way through.
That is so cool.
Yeah, it looks really cool. They're adding a casual difficulty option. Now, you might be thinking, why do you care? Have you ever played Mega Man Z? It needs it. It is probably the hardest of the Mega Man games, and that's speaking as someone who legitimately is good at Mega Man games. They also, of course, are adding in ZX1 and ZX2, so this is all 6 games pretty much back-to-back, which is awesome. I'm hopeful this one will sell well and get them interest in concluding the series, because, as I've said many times, ZX2 ended on a cliffhanger. I'm not going to spoil it, but yeah, it ended on a cliffhanger, and it's just been bugging me.
Legends and Star Force Collection.
Yeah, seriously, just get on it. But the good news is Capcom really, as Cashel says in chat, as several people said in chat, Capcom has been nailing it lately, so I'm actually not all that worried.
Mm-hmm.
What else? They're also adding a chaser mode, which is when you race against an what do you call it, ghost or whatever, like in Mario Kart.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also Double Chaser and World Record Chaser, where you have online battles against people, and it's just get through the map as quickly as you can. What else? I feel like there's another feature they added. Whoops, sorry, didn't mean to turn that on. Oh yeah, this is actually pretty relevant in its own way. Let's see if I can find the video for that one. Because I have so many things up, guys. You have no idea. I haven't even talked about System Shock 2 or FF7 or FF14 or Burger Time yet. Okay, here we go. Yeah, that's right. I'm going to talk about Burger Time.
Got announcements?
I meant 3. Sorry, I meant 3.
Wait, System Shock 3 got announcements?
Uh-huh. It's been a busy week. It's been a busy week. Okay, so here it is right here. It's a very brief point here, but it's very important for me to show this, so give me a moment to set this up properly because it's being dumb. You know what, we're just going to show this whole thing. This is crude, don't care, because what I want you to see is this is the first time that I have seen someone do this with the Switch. That is ZX on the Switch right there on my screen right now. You'll notice they have the second thing. You'll notice they have the second control screen in the lower right. They actually have both screens. This is the first time anyone's actually bothered to solve that problem by actually having the second screen visible. So that's...
Now none of you have an excuse.
Exactly. We now finally have proof positive of the fact that this is an accomplishable fact. And so now all those DS games and 3DS games have no more excuse to not do this, and we have a pattern. We can look at it and be like, okay, do this, and they can do this going forward. So I am very, very excited about that. I suppose I could just kind of let this play here, because I mentioned the easy difficulty. Where's that? So there's also, hang on, there's the original form. Excuse me, hang on, started too quickly. Here we go. So you could play with filters, like that. You could play with full original pixel art, 1-to-1, which is how you should play, by the way. The music player is built in. The music of the series is awesome as it always is. The dual screen control, I already mentioned that. It's the next thing they show off here. You can actually do different layouts. Sorry, I forgot to show this off. They actually have multiple layouts for the second screen. They also have the casual difficulty. Now, this is actually something they've already basically done in Mega Man 11. So if you remember what Mega Man 11's easy mode is, that's what this one's is. They are adding save points in mid-mission, which, if you've played Mega Man Z, you understand how huge that is.
Yep.
And then, of course, they're adding the Chaser mode, which is what the final part is here. This is what Chaser mode looks like. And as you can see, there's even like an indicator of how far you've gotten in the map. So, January 21st, next year. Really, really, really excited about that.
Yeah, that's a day one buy for me.
Oh, and by the way, obviously
I love the Zero games.
Yes. Obviously, I'm gushing about the Switch, but this is also coming out on the PS4, the Xbone, and PC on Steam. So, that's awesome.
Yep.
Okay, next point. You can see why I don't have a list today, guys. I'm just going down the lines. Let's get another quick one out of the way. Burger Time. How many of you remember Burger Time?
I didn't know Burger Time got announcements either.
So, and we're just going to do the crude thing again, whatever. This is coming out this October. Okay, I guess I could give you audio instead of this wonderful FF9 music. So, Burger Time, for those of you not aware, is an NES game that sucks. I actually have a bit of a story about it, and I plan to stream it someday, so I'm going to save that story for then. But as you can see, this is Burger Time 2, basically, on the Switch. Now, I don't know what I think of that, because Burger Time kind of sucked. But as you can see, this now has a co-op mode, which, I mean, you guys know me in co-op. And if it will hurry up a minute. Also, the art style seems to be leaning towards Cuphead.
Yeah.
So there's also asymmetrical multiplayer, where some people will play as the bad guys, and some people will play as the good guys. And they're doing this kind of a thing. Basically, they're making new types of kitchens and new types of puzzles, which is good, because if it was just Burger Time again, that would actually suck. But the fact that they're actually stretching out with the level design is a good thing. Because that was the main problem with Burger Time. The level design kind of sucked. Mm-hmm. That's coming out, like I said, October of this year. What else we got? So that's Mega Man ZX. I'm saving the Square stuff for last, by the way.
Yeah.
If you want me to push it forward, if you need to get going, just say something.
I have nothing really pressing today.
Okay. I'm not going to show you the footage of this one. All I'm going to say is Cat Quest 2 was announced. For those of you not aware, Cat Quest 1 was a surprisingly amusing, basically parody RPG, which came out on many systems. Came out PC, phone, and Switch, I believe. And I'm not sure what else. Uh, oh, I'm aware of that, Hazardous. Although the fact that they're not enforcing that means who knows at this point. Anyways, Cat Quest was a surprisingly good game, and it was apparently was doing well enough financially that they have now released a Cat Quest 2. It's obviously a sequel. The big thing is, of course, it is now having two-player co-op. Gotta have that co-op, and now you can play as a cat or a dog, or puppy, really, given the art style.
Wait, that's illegal.
Puppy Quest 2. So that's awesome. So here's an FF thing. We'll move that over to here. What else have we got? Oh, I'm sorry. I actually forgot to mention something about Death Stranding. There's a portion of the game which is functionally a mini game, which has best been described as a dating simulator. I'm not actually.
Hold up.
I'm not actually making that up. I'm trying
You're
to
gonna have to explain this because I didn't hear anything about this.
And I'm trying to find the guy's name. The guy who's the actor who does the capture for what we're playing as? Here it is. Norman Reedus. That's his name, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you go into the private room to recover from fatigue, and once in there, you no longer control the character, Norman Reedus. However, you can move the camera for various reactions. It has been described by Kojima as a gal game, also known as a dating sim, except it features the likeness of Norman Reedus as Sam Bridges. He needs a shower, but you can take control of him in the you can't take control of him in the private room, so you need to help guide him to the shower, and you can kind of see where this is going.
What?
Japan
is weird.
Hang on. They also demonstrated, as an example, where Sam gets uncomfortable if you zoom in at his crotch. We then see him begging to go to the shower as they continue the camera zoom-ins. Kojima said they normally wouldn't show this, but since it's a special occasion with it being TGS 2019, he shows what happens if you zoom into the crotch too many times. He actually punches the camera.
Yeah, I'll agree with Max Time. Kojima is unleashed.
No, this is full on Kojima, going full on Kojima. Okay, what else? So there's Mega Man, there's Yakuza, there's Team Resistance, there's Cat Quest, there's Burger Time. Where's my notes? Because I've got lots of things. Okay, so I talked about that. Celeste got a full DLC. Now, this is actually a little late because this is very early last week. But Celeste got its final DLC free, by the way, for those of you not aware. It adds a lot of new rooms, and they are as hard as they get. They are all very, very difficult, even by Celeste standards. However, it does continue the story, so it is content. You can still do the cheats built in for that with no consequence, which I still laud as one of the best things ever. I'm sorry, if I could just take just a moment to rant about that. I can't tell you how unusual it is for a developer to give you cheats with no consequence. Usually it's like, oh, well, now you don't get the things, or now you don't get the story, or now you don't get the achievements. Nope, no consequence. Just do it.
I'm totally in favor of that.
Yeah, and you can toggle them on and off at will.
I'm actually pretty good at Celeste, for the record.
Yeah,
I think I beat it with something like 1,300 deaths. And for the record, the DLC is kicking my ass.
Yeah, the DLC. Oh. I started it briefly, and I was like, I don't have time for this. And I went back to work. But yeah, awesome. I'm very happy about that. So just kind of a PSA. It is free. The one thing I did want to talk about is that my hand looks weird right now. One thing I wanted to talk about is the fact that it's... the developers have flat out said that don't expect free content in the future. And I'm amused by that because normally I'd be like, well, why would I expect free content of you? But you know how the internet is. So... Mm-hmm. The next game they're working on, which they're actually already working on, will be coming out probably next year. So that's awesome. What else have we got here? I already mentioned Discovery Tour. KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken, has a dating sim now.
What?
For those of you who didn't hear. I'm not actually joking. You can look it up. KFC has a dating sim where you try to date the Colonel. No, thank you, bastards. I'm really not joking. I'm really not joking. It's... Now, what's funny is on the first hand, this is just ridiculous. Like, I mean, really? Really.
Wow. Okay, so Slate's headline for this is amazing.
What?
What Colonel Sanders looks for in a lover and other things we learned about KFC's new dating simulator. And the accompanying image is just nuts.
Yeah. I mean, technically it doesn't violate any of my rules, so if you really want to throw money at me spending time streaming that stupid game, go for it. But I do want to say something strange. I'm actually in favor of this. This is self-aware winking humor from someone. And Wendy's has been doing that for a while. And Arby's has kind of started doing that as of like last year, actually. So I'm kind of with that. I'd rather have that than, some of the really, really stupid and awful adverts we've had on TV over the last 30 years.
I mean, hell, even Burger King got in on this back in
oh god, yeah, the racing game,
the late 2000s on the 360. Yeah.
And of course, how can you not like Pepsi Man? So, as much as Nascosta is awesome, I'm still amused by the KFC thing. And like I said, it's not disallowed. Thank you very much, Nascosta. Much obliged and appreciate, sir, as always. And you want me to... you got it. I was like, wait, the Odyssey? We're not playing Odyssey. You mean the real Odyssey?
That comes out in 9 days. Oh my god.
What, the KFC one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it was soon. A lot of these come out very soon. Like, there's actually a lot of games coming out in the next 2 weeks, which is funny because I'll be doing Ruminations. Anyways, System Shock 3, right. I mentioned System Shock 3 in brief. So I'm actually going to go ahead and mute this and pull up this and hit go.
There is no evil here, only change.
Oh, I suppose I should have said, like, disturbing images warning. Sorry, guys. It's System Shock. I figured that was self-apparent. That's my fault.
Your species does not, in its current form, work as designed. Yet you resist. Your kind always reacts with violence. Your futile struggles entertain me. Our little dance has only just begun. Now comes the reckoning.
So, System Shock 3. Woo! Good. And they showed off a little bit more of it at the thing, at the TGS and to IGN. So if you want to see more of that, you can go to IGN. I will go ahead and admit a couple of things. So first of all, I'm not sure how excited I am about that. I know that sounds strange, because I'm actually a pretty big fan of System Shock 2. But the problem is System Shock 2, while it is gory, is N64 gory.
Yeah, it was abstract enough to not be disturbing.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, okay. No, System Shock 2 hit the right, for me, it hit the exact right level of horror, because most of it was in the audio logs, is in what you would hear. And that was perfect. That was just as terrifying as it absolutely could be. That's the kind of thing I could enjoy. Actually, so it looks like System Shock 3, they're trying to show, as Dakota so accurately put, just straight up gore. Just actual gore. Not Doom. Doom is cartoony. This looks like it's going for actual horror gore. And I'm not sure if I'm in favor of that.
Yeah, neither am I, because, like, the portrayal of Shodan is great, and if they do the audio logs, that'll be great. But the gore might be pushing it a little bit.
Yeah. So we'll see. Obviously, that's not on the forbidden list or anything. We don't even have the beginnings of a release date, though. So, shrug. Huthor disagrees with me, as usual. We've also... What else have we got here? So that's the System Shock thing. I already mentioned Project Resistance. I think that's everything. Hang on. Looking at this. That's the Romancing Saga. There's the Dragon Quest thing. There's the trailer for something unrelated. Rax, do me a favor and talk about FF14.
FF14 is a game, and it exists.
No, what happened last night?
No, yeah, I'll go. I was just making a joke.
No jokes allowed.
Last night, Yoshida got up on stage up at Tokyo Game Show and talked about patch 5.1, which is coming in late October. They will be having new main scenario quests, of course, a new dungeon, of course, crafting system improvements, so a lot more quality of life stuff, which is insane considering what we already got in Shadowbringers. Let me actually pull up my notes because I did actually make notes on this. Taro, Yoko Taro. Hey guys, did you know Yoko Taro is actually collaborating for a raid in this game? Yeah, it's called Yorha Dark Apocalypse. It's going to be releasing with 5.1. It'll be good. Play it. Pixies are going to be in the new Beast Tribes. New Extreme Trial. It's obviously going to be the guy who I'm not going to spoil, but it's going to be the last boss. Job adjustments for Ninja, Samurai, Summoner. If any of you play those, look forward to that, I suppose. Otherwise, yeah, that's mostly it. They'll go more into 5.1 changes and additions in a later live letter a few weeks from now. But for now, it was just an introductory presentation.
You mentioned Samurai. I didn't see any details in your summary.
Yeah, no, they didn't actually say any details. They just said we're making adjustments. I know for Ninja, for Ninja, they said they're going to make it so your mudras are actually weavable as off global cooldown.
Interesting.
But for Samurai, they didn't say anything aside from potency buffs. So I don't know what else they're doing.
Well, cool. So what in the world? Apparently.
Oh, one thing I forgot. New Game Plus is going to be a thing. It's going to include at launch Heavensward, Stormblood, Shadowbringers, main scenario only. A Realm Reborn and all the side story content that's going to come later.
Yeah, it seems they're being iterative about it, which makes sense actually,
Mm-hmm.
and that's also their usual approach. So that also makes sense. Sorry, I forgot to mention they did show off a new trailer of Tales of Arise at TGS, including a new character who is very mysterious. It's all in Japanese, so I have no idea what's going on, which is why I'm not showing it to you. I remember why I didn't have this.
Guys, that FF14 lore run just got a lot more feasible. Just saying.
God, no, don't make me do that. Anyways.
I'm sorry.
Now, I only have 2 things left on my list. How does New Game Plus work in an MMO? All right, Bragwin, have you ever played STO? Because that's the easiest way to explain it.
Basically, you toggle between your current story progress and your New Game Plus progress, and you don't get rewards for going back through.
Oh, that's right. They mentioned that it's awful, didn't they? Sorry.
Yeah, they mentioned instance battles are synced upwards.
So
they're currently adjusting for that. So that's good.
But
yeah, no experience, no gil rewards, no item rewards.
Yeah, you get nothing from it whatsoever. What I saw a brief mention. Of course, I haven't seen full English translations yet, so I don't know how accurate this is. I saw a brief mention of the idea that you can only do it once.
I have not heard anything about that.
The idea is, as you just reminded me of this, because you've got your NG Plus progress, and that's it. Like there's no resetting that or undoing.
They've got a chapter select.
Okay,
and you just you select a chapter and you play from there.
Okay, so that's better than I was thinking, because I was like, what's the freaking point then? Anyways, woo. It's a shame you get nothing for doing it, though.
I know.
That's actually a
great way to level alts.
I know they have this opposition to leveling fast, and I know I've given my own opinion on that before, but you'd think encouraging players to play through the story again to level would be a thing they'd be on board with, right? Instead of mindlessly running roulettes.
Well, hey, maybe if we make enough of a stink about it, they'll change it.
I mean, if I might be so bold really quick, you know what my favorite way to level is in Chrono Trigger?
New Game Plus?
Yeah, just play through the game again.
Because, under normal circumstances, you end Chrono Trigger around, level 40?
Oh, less than that, at least the way I play.
Well, maybe I just...
you know me, I'm always low level. I'm always low level.
I tend to be more thorough when it comes to RPGs.
Anyways. So that sucks, but we'll see how that goes going forward. Along with Larian. Thank you very, very much, Larian. Much appreciate the sub as always. Thank you. Do you know where you want to put that? Otherwise, infinite stabbing. Now, I have two last things to talk about. The first is Kingdom Hearts 3, and the second is FF7. I'll just go ahead and open with those. Now,
what?
So,
Never heard of them.
well, it's so Kingdom Hearts 3 is this little-known game about a young boy who abuses collision in order to slide through walls and then get... No, I think... Actually, I haven't watched the whole Kingdom Hearts 3 speedrun yet. I'm really looking forward to getting there. I just started SGDQ last night, actually. And so I am slowly making my way through that. Anyways. So... that's right. That's Half-Life 2. You're right. Kingdom Hearts 3 got a trailer for Remind.
Yep.
And some info. So I'm going to just play the trailer first. Is this the English one? Hang on. Pretty sure this is the closed captions one. So let's turn those on really quick. And we'll do this. And then we'll do this. E10 Plus. Development footage. So I'm going to say this out loud. The heart you have now already existed during that time. It had already gone back into the past. Nothing can change that fact. What? That Keyblade? It's just like Sora's. Oh, you. Dramatic pause. So, gameplay is Axel. Gameplay is Roxas. Gameplay is Shion. Kairi's height hasn't been lost yet. She's still with us, right? Maybe, but this time the situation's a lot worse. And then we see this interesting fight. And a fight against Zigbar, which actually looks really cool. There's only one thing I want with all my heart. Xehanort. I am casting you out of Terra forever. And then we have gameplay as Aqua and... not Roxas. I suppose letting false light dictate the future might be pretty lousy. So, you have the power to make a change. What do you want for the world? Bad news for Terra if either of them get hurt. You have to leave. Go to the world of ocean and sky. And you? Oh, also, the lingering will fight there. Coming sometime this year, supposedly. So we have a window, but not an actual date. Yeah.
I'm actually surprised that they didn't give a release date for that.
I am too. And I haven't, excuse me, seen anything else indicating as such. Cough. So, presumptions. I'll let you go first.
So, about that first line that Cherothy said, the one about already going back into the past, that takes place after the game, in my opinion.
Probably.
Because, I mean, they've said that this is going to be a compilation of scenes from the ending, the epilogue, a few things interspersed into the main game. It's just going to be all over, filling in the gaps.
Which is going to be interesting, because I already have a premiere run slotted for it, so that means I'm just going to have to play the whole game again, probably.
Oh, wow. That's horrible.
I know, right?
So bad for you.
And that also does mean it's probably going to be pushed a little lower on priority, though. For
Yeah,
obvious
true.
reasons.
Yeah. Otherwise, Aqua's gameplay looks good. I'm excited to play as the Lingering Will again for the first time in 9 years. Yeah, I'm just really excited for it. Although the thing about the false light, I'm not sure what to make of that.
Yeah.
Unless maybe... I've seen a lot of people say that the Master of Masters thinks that any light that doesn't come from Kingdom Hearts is false light. So that could be a possibility. I don't know what else you could actually...
It's also possible he's more of a villain than we have presumed.
Could be.
He's always been villainous leaning in his manipulativeness. Now, I do want to show off one thing here really quick. Yeah, let's switch songs here. So as you can see, that's Vanitas. I know it's kind of hard to tell, but it's more obvious when you see him in motion, but it's going by so fast. Just trust me when I say this is the fight against Vanitas here, and
Yep.
that looks really cool. We've also got the fight against Zigbar in the same area. Now that's interesting enough to me, so this probably is going to be data battle equivalent.
Yeah.
Is what I'm presuming here. Now I'm down with that. The data battles were awesome. So we're gonna have we're gonna be able to play probably this again. I'm just gonna go ahead and put asterisks in all this. Probably gonna be able to play as all, I guess, 6 of the characters we weren't able to play as that we should have been during the obvious graveyard section. Aqua, Ventus is his name. The Lingering Will, Axel, Shion, and actual Roxas. And then, of course, the data battles for this cool stuff right here. Also, yes, we are getting Oblivion and Oathkeeper as Keyblades. I shrug.
And those will be free, so those won't be tied to Remind.
Yar. Now, we do know the Master of Masters is going to get a new scene because he's right frickin' there. As well as more stuff with young Xehanort, which will hopefully not make him less of a villain. We also see Naminé, which is kind of unusual considering where they are at the moment, so I'm not sure at what point this happens.
Mm-hmm.
And naturally, the Lingering Will battle of awesome. Alright, so we'll go ahead and get rid of that for the moment. Believe it or not, I think that's actually it for Remind at the moment.
Yeah, Kingdom Hearts didn't really have much of a presence at TGS this year, which was a little surprising.
Mm-hmm. But FF7, on the other hand, had a huge amount of stuff to talk about.
Oh my god.
In fact, I'm going to get a timestamp just for the FF7 stuff, because we probably have a lot to talk about here. So let's just get that really there. Okay. God.
Where do we even want to start?
Yeah, where to start? All right, let me start by saying that let's start with a bullet point list. So we've shown off boss battles, we've shown off summons, we've shown off the easy mode and the normal mode, and we've shown off classic mode and regular mode. We also have a full trailer in English, which released only like 20 minutes after the Japanese trailer released. Now, if you don't understand the significance of that, that's kind of unusual for them to release English stuff that quickly. It kind of shows how much they understand how popular this is outside of Japan, basically. So yeah. It's just a good sign, is all I'm saying. It also shows that they are effectively doing the voice acting in English and in Japanese pretty much side by side, which, again, is a good thing. Not completely unheard of, but still unusual enough for me to mention it.
I've seen a lot of people saying that the bad voice acting, because let's face it, that voice acting is not very good in the trailer. I've seen a lot of people say that that's actually just an early dub for the trailer.
Could be.
And that they're going to go back and polish it later.
Yeah, could be. So we do have some footage, which I am going to show you. We do have a trailer, which I'm going to show you. And we do have, God, a lot of stuff to talk about. They have been showing this game off for several days, plural. And let's just rewind. Let's do the trailer first. Let's hit this, then let's hit this, and then let's hit this. So here's the English trailer.
Quickly! Barrett!
Give me a break!
Jesse! Barrett!
Where you been?
Tifo! Let's lay down some rubber!
Crank that throttle! Okay, you got it!
Who's that?
Who's that? That's a good question.
Can't say this is quite what I had in mind when I asked for your help way back when.
Feels like we're flying high these days.
Now, more than ever.
He's a keeper, all right.
Yeah.
I'll see myself in. Thanks. And who are you?
Now it's my turn.
Hello, Aerith.
What do you want?
Wait a minute. Those eyes.
Corneo's got certain tastes.
Don't be shy, little kitten. Shimmy on over and give Daddy some sugar.
It'll be fine, right? After you.
You led us on a merry chase, Aerith.
Attention, Avalanche! Resist and we will use lethal force.
Got your lethal force right here! President Shinra.
Now then, my dear sewer rats. Henceforth allies of wicked Wutai, our sworn enemy.
Wutai! The hell we are!
You still don't understand your role in this.
So,
This game is gonna hurt me.
there's a lot to unpack here. So I'm going to just go through this step by step, if that's cool with everyone. So yeah, we're going to just go through it linearly. First and foremost, the one and only thing, and I do stress this, because this is, at this point, the only thing that makes me think negatively about this game at this point, is these damned ghosts.
I'm sorry, guys. I know my volume was a bit loud. Sorry about that.
I can actually turn him down. I usually turn him up, because usually he's, like, so quiet compared to me. So, if I need to adjust volume, you guys need to tell me this, guys. So yeah, the ghosts. These are dumb. I've actually already said this, and please forgive me, but if we think about this logically, there are only 3 broad possibilities here. Possibility number 1, Genova. Possibility number 2, Livestream. Possibility number 3, something new. Now, I could really dissect this and go into detail, but in my opinion, if they are Genova, then they shouldn't be here. If they are Livestream, then this is jumping the gun too early on that plot point, in my opinion. Geostigma would be Genova, but cool. Geostigma is Genova. If it's something new, then we can't predict, because it's something new. So, yeah. I don't know what to make of this, and I'm just kind of walking away from it, but if it's something new, I can't talk about it. If it's the other 2 things, I'm not a fan of it. Moving on. So, ghosts, yay. Ghosts. Jesse's awesome. We're going to fight a member from Soldier, whose name is Demix. I'm kidding, but look at him!
It's him.
It's totally Demix. Anyways, so they didn't mention his name here. However, the fact that we're going to be fighting an actual soldier person here, probably 3rd class, I would guess, it helps to indicate the fact that they're trying to add more soldier elements to the actual story, which actually I'm completely in favor of, because of the fact that, if you remember, other than the big 3 in FF7, there was no presence of soldier. They were literally trash mods.
No, they were just there, yeah.
Yeah, I have to be completely honest, the first time I played FF7, I didn't even notice that Soldier 37 and Soldier 89 that I was fighting were actually literally named Soldier, capital. And I was like, oh, that's them, right.
Hell, just as you said that, I had to, recall back to that, did I actually fight soldier members in 7?
Yeah, they were trash, like I said. So yeah, I'm in favor with them characterizing more of Soldier, with it. We'll see where they go with that. We see a brief scene of them. Oh, this is actually significant for a very small reason. Now, they've always said it's going to be the whole Midgar section. Yes, Papa Danes. But this is them talking while imprisoned in Shinra Tower, which is pretty far in. In fact, it's almost at the very end of the Midgar section.
This is, I believe, the latest section that we have seen confirmed thus far.
So, yeah, it's indicative. Then we have another thing of Sephiroth. Now, I've already made my point here. I think putting Sephiroth into this is a mistake. I do. And it's mostly because Sephiroth himself's presence in the story in the original FF7 was extremely well crafted. And we'll see what they do with this going forward.
Yeah, as I said in during E3, I'm fine with changes. I'm fine with you reinterpreting the story, but Sephiroth he's iconic, and you shouldn't be misusing it.
Agreed. That could be the bar. Well, if it is the bar, that'll tie into another point, which I'll make in a minute. But yeah, Sephiroth, I think Takoid is the one who first mentioned this out loud, but Sephiroth was characterized in the original FF7 as a horror villain rather than a typical RPG villain, and it's one of the reasons he worked so well.
Yep.
Yeah, his presence, his actual on-screen time was actually usually less effective than his off-screen time. But anyways, moving on. So then we have Gideon Emery, who's playing Biggs, or I think that's Biggs.
Yeah, that's Biggs.
And so they're flying in, and then we see Reno. So this obviously is a scene from the original, except for the fact that he actually attacks Cloud, which I have two things to say about. First of all, that we're actually going to have a boss fight with Reno at this section, which wasn't in the original. Second point, you'll notice Reno, even in combat, but also in the cutscene, moves very, very quickly. Now, that seems like a really minor point to bring up, but in the original, the Turks were just guys. They weren't superhuman. In fact, that's even in Advent Children. Oh, they're good, don't mistake me, but they're completely outclassed when it comes to everything else. Did I say Axel?
Wait, did you say Axel? I didn't catch it.
I didn't either. I meant Reno. I mean, what's the difference, right? Reno. Yeah, we'll see. It could be just a haste spell. Actually, Rax and I had a bit of a discussion about that.
Yeah, I honestly think it's just materia, and the Turks being, high up agents, they'd have access to high-end materia. Like,
yep. No, I'm down with the idea, but it's worth noting I'm not actually sure where they're going with this because, I mean, he's got stuff like that. They've buffed up, yeah, they seem to have buffed up the Turks, which I would be okay with as long as they explain it properly. And we'll see if they explain it properly, because they have not done so, obviously, at this point, since this is our first real look at the Turks. Now, we do see Rude a bit, and we get to fight Rude alongside Aerith. That's going to be so hard to call her that, by the way. And we see that he has combo moves, literally throwing Cloud at us, which was hysterical. But the really relevant point here is that, if you'll notice, we fight Reno, it's not Axel, in the church, in the scene where we encountered Rude, if you'll remember, was not in this section at all. And when we end up fighting Rude, we're fighting him kind of out and about. Like you can see, we're out in the slums now. This is relevant because this, and I'm just going to keep making this point, this was not in the original. Now, then we have Aerith in full dress in the sector, the Wall Market, or is it Wall Street?
It's Wall Market.
It's Wall Market. I'm right. And we have most likely Mark Hamill as Corneo, which is apparently pronounced Corneo, by the way. I've been saying Corneo for the last 30 years. But they seem to be doing a good job with that. Corneo is as horrible as he should be. And we have the implication of the Cloud dressing up scene, although we haven't seen him address. If I'm being honest, I probably wouldn't actually show that until the game comes out.
I don't think they will. I think they know, and they're just saving that.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much exactly what I would do. Then we have the brief scene we actually get to see Zeng, I don't remember, going after Aerith, which is also a scene that was not showcased in the original. And then we see the actual battle at the Sector 7 plate pillar, which is a little more intensive than previous, although it's all cutscene. Then we have some brief sections. Sorry, so let's rewind a second. First we have us. Note that this is gameplay looking. Like, this does not look like cutscene. You can tell by the over-the-shoulder camera. So we're going to be seeing the ghosts even just in gameplay. Really don't know what I think about that. We have a section of Aerith and Cloud escaping. We have this pulse scan going on the train. We have Tifa. Notice we're just playing as Tifa here during what I believe is the Sector 5 infiltration. We have us playing darts at the bar. We have us doing squats. Now, I have to admit, this actually made me smile. Because squats are awesome. And then we have some of Barrett's gameplay that doesn't involve killing someone, but involve him shooting something to interact with the terrain, which, I don't know, there's something they could be doing stuff with that. It could be just a fight. I don't want to speculate too much. We see what it looks like when we're turned into a frog. We keep the sword. Ribbit. Notice, by the way, I actually want to point this out. If you look in the lower left, I know it's a little hard to see. These go by very quickly. We have Punisher mode, attack and command menus. When we're turned into a frog, it immediately changes to bubble breath. So, that's actually pretty cool. Then we switch forward a little bit. We see another little pseudo cutscene until we fight that sucker. And President Shinra shows up. Now this, I've been making this point throughout this trailer, but this is when they full hog start really changing the story, because Shinra shows up as a hologram instead of in person, which...
I like this change.
Yes, makes perfect sense. Him showing up in person, in fact, I believe that I've brought that up in both of my lore runs of this game.
Mm-hmm.
It was an extremely dangerous, risky thing to do.
I mean, I know he likes to gloat, but no.
Also, if I might be so bold, I wish I could... the voice actor who's voicing Shinra sounds really, really familiar. But he does... He sounds more interesting than Shinra sounded back in the original, just to put it bluntly.
Mm-hmm.
And he also mentioned something very important. Hey, it's Avalanche, the agents of Wutai, our sworn enemy. And that is a very interesting plot point to me.
Oh, yeah.
So first of all, it shows the obvious, that they're trying to hoist us off on the Wutai enemy, but it also means that they're still playing at PR, and it still means there's at least some anti-Wutai bias, which, fingers crossed, will actually come up when we get there. Because even when we get to Wutai at a certain point in the story, in FF7 proper, I mean, they de-emphasize the Wutai War so hard that I know people who played the game who wasn't aware of the Wutai War until they got to Wutai.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, I'm with it.
I don't think they'll just sweep it under the rug. I think it'll be a constant element in both Midgar and Wutai.
Yeah, here's hoping. We'll see. Anyway, so yes, he's like, wah, and then, of course, Heidegger shows up here, which is completely new. He wasn't here at all previously, and just taunts them for not knowing their role in all these things. And then he unleashes the robot butt, which is not this one. He unleashes Airbuster on us. We've already seen that in another trailer. We see Ifrit show up. We see the attack at the actual pillar, where Reno shows up again from the helicopter. We see a bit of the Shiva summon here. Aerith's attacks. I'll talk more about that in just a second, actually. I'll talk about summons in a sec, too. I actually have something separate to say about the summons. And then the trailer ends. Now, this is important, because this trailer showed a bit of the silly side, which is good, because FF7 was a silly game.
Mm-hmm.
But it also shows the serious side, which is good, because FF7 was a serious game. The fact that they show the devastation here in what is almost total silence. This was awesome. I should also probably point out the fact that in almost all of the presentations of Midgar, even in the movies, you didn't really see the scale and scope of Midgar as it should have been, simply because the tech wasn't there. Here, we get to see mountains in the distance. We get to see a sunrise. We get to see the sky other than the plate. And I know that sounds strange, but that's really important to me, because in so much of FF7, it felt like we were basically in a bubble when we were in the Midgar section, right? Because they just couldn't show it properly. They literally could not render anything but the city itself.
Exactly.
So now this actually was shown off earlier, too. In fact, I'll rewind here. Because when we're... Just a second. There you go. You can literally see the sky there. Look, right there. You can actually see the sky in the slums. Now, that makes sense, but you couldn't in the original. There's another good shot of it right there. So I like that they're going with that overall thing. No, Darth Tyron, not really. Anyways, this is, of course, coming out March 3rd. Now, I actually have even more to talk about.
Oh, yeah, no, we've got a lot.
But that's just the trailer. Now, over here, Here's the apps fight. I'm just gonna leave this up. Let's go ahead and turn the volume up. Okay, that's what I thought. This is the one with people talking over it. And I don't need people talking over me talking over people. Now, this is live action. So, as you can see, here's Tifa being playable, which, duh, we knew Tifa was going to be playable. She's in the party. All party members are playable. But we can see a little bit of what her gameplay feels like. Now, from what I am told, and I do have to stress this that way because Japanese, she has stances which change how her attacks work. Like that. You can see her doing it right there. And her hands change color as well. So, she gets the option to... And you can literally see how the attacks are different here. So that's actually good because that means from the 4 characters we've seen playable, and here's another showcasing of that, all of them literally play differently rather than just having different attacks. Aerith is, of course, ranged, as she's showcasing here with her effectively magic bolts. Tifa has the stances. Cloud has the heavy block, which can apparently block more than normal stuff, and big melee swings. And Barrett has the machine gun, which you can actually change how it attacks based on how you hit the button. So... actual gameplay variants, awesome. I'm not sure if they're going to keep that going forward. How the hell are you going to play as Kate Sith? Yes, I know it's pronounced Kachi. I don't care.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
Yeah. So we see how they're trying to... So this is something we've already basically known from the Scorpion fight, but this helps to continue showing something that I've theorized on. But nevertheless, it's good to see it confirmed. They are trying to do what they can to vary up the boss battles to be something other, basically to be what I call Zelda-style boss battles. Actual, phases, and different types of attacks, and blah, 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 blah. Yes, Venters. Go ahead.
I want to mention something really important, actually, because we all had misconceptions about the stagger bar when we were, analyzing this at E3.
Yeah.
The stagger bar does not decrease. You're not fighting it like you are in FF30. That's confirmed.
Which is very good because that was awful.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to do a summon. So several people have said, well, summons weren't in the game until after Midgar. I mean, from a development perspective, there are so many summons in FF7. Moving a few into Midgar is easy to do and makes sense because they want to show up. They want to basically have summon gameplay in this version of the game.
Right.
So it makes perfect sense to me that they would go ahead and put in summons. And there probably is only going to be the 2, honestly. Ifrit and Shiva, the 2 iconic ones. Maybe Ramu. But, it makes perfect sense to me, basically, that they would do this. And yeah, they could also add new summons. That's absolutely true. Speaking of, and I wasn't just talking about that for no reason, you notice there was a summon bar that fills. I don't know what makes it fill. But there is a summon bar that fills. There's Ifrit. There's a little button that, this is the tutorial thing that pops up. I don't know what it says. I can't read Japanese.
Basically, you can issue commands to your summons by using your ATB gauges.
Okay, so I did know that, but I apparently that's what they're talking about here. He's talking about what I suppose. So now this is interesting in its own right. You'll notice that, to use a direct comparison that Sonic Doctor just brought up, unlike in FF12, he does not take up slots in the party. Tifa, Aerith, and Cloud are still here, and Ifrit is also here. Now,
yeah, this is like FF12 if it was good.
Ouch!
Yeah,
Ouch! But I do
like FF12.
I love FF12, but I actually agree with you. I never use summons in 12 because they're kind of crap.
Mm-hmm.
So I do like this summoning system overall. And you notice, there you go. He just pulled up the menu to use the summon ability in the with his ATB. Now, for those of you who don't understand what that means, and this is going to be relevant, the ATB bar fills via actions. We've talked about that before. They've also hinted that other characters will be able to fill the ATB bar via other things. Now, the ATB bar... No, Nascosta. The ATB bar... I don't even know how to do that off the top of my head. Is basically you have your basic attacks, and then you have what I'm just going to call menu attacks. Menu attacks are the ones you need ATB to cast.
Yeah, they're your former limits back in FF7 normal. They're your magic, stuff like that.
And you'll notice both Aerith and Tifa just showed off an ATB attack just there. So that's the kind of stuff ATB says. Now, that'll be relevant when we talk about our next big feature. But are we almost done? Yeah, it looks like this is basically the end of the fight. It looks like he's going to show off Ifrit's big attack in just a second here. Yep, here we go. So here's Hellfire. Now, near as I can tell, the big attack just goes off when they are desummoned. Like, it's the final thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what I
you can
think.
you can probably expedite that.
I was gonna say, yeah,
clicking a button, of course.
but it does sound like that is very FF12 in its overall implementation. Now we're gonna switch over. I guess we're not gonna switch anywhere. So we're gonna switch off of this, and that's all I have to say about FF7. Okay, continue next week. No, I'm kidding. So I've already mentioned they have a difficulty thing. You can also change that in-game. You can change easy and normal in-game, which is good. I don't know exactly what it does. I'm guessing it's just going to be the usual HP and damage, so nothing fancy.
I wouldn't be too sure of that, because under that difficulty mode, there was one more.
Speaking of which, let's talk about Classic Mode. Now, I know a lot of people who are actually really excited for Classic Mode, and I am not. I'll go ahead and be honest about that. But I am huge...
I'm not for myself, actually.
Yeah, I'm not for myself, but I'm hugely in favor of options. I am so in favor of options. So I have watched several videos, and I've seen several translations which tend to disagree with each other, so I'm going to go ahead and put all of this in the realm of grain of salt. But near as I can tell, the way it works is in Classic Mode... Hang on, let me just actually read word for word from this one translation. In standard mode, the ATB gauge fills up by repeatedly attacking your enemy. But in classic mode, this aspect of gameplay is handled automatically. The player does not need to do anything. The character fights automatically charging up their ATB gauge. So if you're playing in classic mode, you don't have to worry about the action side of the combat system at all. You can instead focus purely on selecting commands, making it possible to play it as if it was a mini-placed RPG. Now... They've talked about a few additional details of the specifics of that. The general idea is, if you've ever played Dissidia, it seems...
The PSP ones, not the crap.
Yeah, actually good Dissidia, or Dissidias, I should say. It seems to be very similar to Command Mode over in there, whatever that was called. The idea is... the gameplay isn't fundamentally changing. It's still an action RPG. It's just your input into the gameplay is changing. Because rather than moving around and doing the camera and doing the button presses and all this, instead what you're doing is this and just waiting as the game is doing its auto stuff. And apparently both blocks and dodges as well as attacks automatically from what I've seen. Grain of salt. They did actually show some footage which showed controller
The guy
input.
holding the controller.
Yes, yeah. So that's part of where that's coming from. Because he actually showed how he was doing nothing on the controller and stuff was happening. And then once the ATB bar fills, he can hit the button and actually select the menu commands. And this is why I mentioned the significance of the ATB and its relevance to the combat system earlier.
You still have to move and block, to be clear. It's just that your white damage, your auto attacks, that's handled automatically.
Now, give me a moment. I'm trying to see what else we got here. Aerith apparently gets... so Aerith, I already mentioned she has long range. I keep stumbling over that. Aerith...
You'll get used to it.
No, I won't. I haven't gotten used to it for 20 years. The problem is, if you want me to actually discuss the linguistics of it, the problem is that word doesn't work. It's
Believe
like...
me, I had trouble with it too.
So Eris, her attacks are long range. You have an ability to hit the triangle button, which for her does Tempest. It allows her to make a holy circle, which makes any spell used in the area cast repeatedly. It also, summon materia is something you have to equip. You do have to take a slot of it, duh. So instead of filling up a normal gauge, it fills up, like a magic gauge or whatever, it fills up the summon gauge, which when you fill up, you can summon. I'm looking at here. Each character can equip up to one summon materia each, so you are actually restricted to a total of 3 at most. Looking at my notes here. Classic. Where's the rest of my notes? I swear I have more notes about this. I think that might actually be it. Hang on. Help me out, Rax. What else you got?
Here's a controversial opinion for you. I like the music.
I gotta be honest, I barely noticed it. I don't mean that as a negative, it's just there.
Apparently in our Discord, that's not going over so well. People aren't really taking to the music.
I mean, shrug. It's going to be hard to surpass Uematsu. I also don't know if Uematsu's even involved. He probably isn't, given his health issues.
True. I don't think that, it's going to surpass Uematsu, but I do enjoy them.
trying to think what else we saw. Oh, right, the story changes. I kept building up to that point. I never actually concluded it. So, what I was trying to showcase during the trailer was how many times they were changing the story in substantial ways. As you know, adding in the Wu-Tai connection, adding in Heidegger during that section, having Rude be present, having us actually fight Reno. There are quite a few instances, just about all over the place, where it shows that they're clearly fleshing out the story more and actively changing the story. Now, this is the catch. Most of the story fleshing out, in fact, I would say almost all of it, is something I am hugely in favor of. I cannot put in words how much I am in favor of that, because in my personal opinion, that's what a proper remake should do.
Right.
The one catch, and this is always going to be a catch, is it also seems like they are adding new story elements. Now, that's not necessarily true, but the one and only thing we've seen so far that is an addition of story, that isn't just a dimension adding to existing story, is the damn ghosts. And I hate to bash that point again, but it is...
Sephiroth.
And Sephiroth, that's fair. So, I hate to bash that point yet again, but it's the two things I'm most hesitant about so far, is the things they're adding.
Yeah, I'm of the opinion that, you know what, if FF7 wants to do a whole reimagining, so to speak, go for it, you know? This is the perfect avenue to go nuts on.
It is.
But
it is.
At least, you've got to at least maintain some semblance of adherence to the original. Yeah. So I hope that they have some restraint.
Yeah, we will see in, let's see, 6 months now. Less than 6 months, actually. No, more than. Sorry, this is September. About 6.5 months at this point. We will see.
Yeah, just about.
I don't know. I just want to elaborate on this point briefly. Seeing Shinra showing up in a hologram is a change, but it's a change on an existing thing. It's not adding something new. The Wu-Tai connection is fleshing out a pre-existing connection, right? The Heidegger being involved in this deception, fleshing out a pre-existing connection. Heidegger was always the head of weapons management, so that just makes sense. And we already know, thanks to original base game, that most of those weapons are behind him and Scarlet's office. So I anticipate we'll see more of Scarlet as well, to be completely blunt. I
think the only thing... Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
Quick. I think the only thing that I can point to and say this kind of blurs the line between a change and an addition is the fleshing out of Sector 5, because it seems like they are adding quite a bit, but they're also staying course.
Even in that case, I'd be willing to pass that one. Like I said, the ghost is the only thing that really makes me go, eh. And that could be a fleshing out of an existing thing. It's just we know nothing about it.
Yeah,
They just keep showing ghosts. They've been, and then what kind of irritates me most is they've been showing ghosts in almost every showcasing of this game for like the last 2 years.
No, they haven't.
Yeah, they have.
I think the first time they showed up was E3, right?
Yeah. So I guess 1 year. My bad. Sorry, 1 year.
No, yeah, that'd be like 3 months ago, or no, like 3 months ago. And
Has
then
it only been that long?
Yeah.
So, wow, God, it feels like it's been a really long 3 months.
I know.
Anyways, everything since then, it's only been 3 months ago. Everything since then has been showcasing the damn ghosts. And that still irritates me. My point remains.
Right. Not to diminish your point, I think that they definitely need to explain that either in-game, hopefully in-game, or in a trailer.
And yeah, Sephiroth has also been present. Of course, Sephiroth's been present. That at least is understandable, other than the ghost things. Yeah, it's probably... I would put, I'd say, extremely high certainty that Sephiroth is not physically present in almost any of this.
Did you see the full gameplay of the E3 demo by chance?
Maybe.
They were blowing up the reactor. They fought the guard squad.
Oh, yes. The guard squad.
Yeah.
In fact, actually, where's the...
They actually had a scene where a feather floated down, and
I remember what you're talking about. I'm not sure why I don't have that up because I was going to show that. No
Yeah,
wonder
it
I'm
was
missing
all
something.
It was all in Cloud's head.
Hang on, see if I can find it. Is this it? This might be it. Tokyo Game Show demo, mute. There's the robot thing. There's Jesse being weird. Why are you weird, Jesse? Come on. It's the scene where, like, Barrett... I've seen it in English, which is why it's weird that I can't find it right now, where Barrett's like, you're going to be cool, right? You're going to prove to me that you're not an idiot, so go plant the bomb. Yeah, this scene right here. Hang on, where's the...
I know that Eurogamer has the full thing.
So I've seen this in English. I have no idea where it is. Forgive me. But the relevant point and the thing that he just referenced is Cloud goes to set the bomb in the Sector 5, or excuse me, Sector 7. No, it is Sector 5, isn't it? The first one, the one at the beginning.
Sector 1.
Sector 1, and then he sees the black feather, which just kind of vanishes there. And he's like, I don't understand. This is so strange. Barrett's like, all right, you crazy boy? No, I'm not crazy. Are you sure you're not crazy? I'm not crazy, shut up. Not crazy, damn it. And you can actually adjust the timer. That's amusing. Oh, speaking of which, actually in this same gameplay demo, let me rewind a second. He actually shows a decent amount here. And there's the controller cam, the always important controller cam. But what I really wanted to show off is right around here somewhere. Oh, really?
Yeah, plenty of outlets have the English version, guys. I'd say Eurogamer is honestly the best showcase of it because the person doing the explaining doesn't interrupt the dialogue and also is very thorough.
Now, one of the things I really enjoy about this is if you wait a few... There we go. This menu looks straight out of Kingdom Hearts 3. Like, I'm pretty sure it's the same engine, which wouldn't surprise me. But
Don't fix what ain't broken.
Yep, but there you go. So there's easy mode, there's normal mode, and then there's classic mode. This is just showcasing the difficulty thing. As I just showcasing what I mentioned earlier, that you can change it on the fly. And there's talking about the classic mode, and they actually showcase the classic mode with the controller up there. As you can see, he's barely doing anything, and he's just putting. So this is classic mode in action. You can watch the controller on the upper left, and he's not doing anything. It's just taking action for him. Of course, this is a cutscene, so it's a bad showcasing of it. But just showcasing that I'm not completely crazy, despite how tired I am. I've only made one mistake today. I think I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, literally all he does is move and guard until it's his turn, basically.
Yeah. Now, the other thing, and I'm trying to figure out... So, he mentions this part, so obviously we got to get in cover. Oh no, get in cover. This is speculation that I'm probably incredibly wrong on, but there's a part during this exact demo where he goes from being... So this is classic mode, you can tell very clearly. He goes from being in classic mode to just cutting straight over to action mode. And it didn't... There wasn't like a big transition, so it looks like, based on what I was seeing, that there's some shortcut somewhere that I missed, which just switched it straight over into action mode. Or, now this is the other possibility, it's possible that the command mode does not that is to say classic mode does not override action mode.
I don't think it does. I think you still have your movement options, you still have your attacking options. It's just, if you want to, you can take a back seat.
But to help to emphasize here, and that's showcasing that right now, watch the controller. Notice that he's not even moving. Barrett is still moving, but he's not hitting the analogs. Did you see that?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the point I was making earlier, and I'm glad that I was right and I'm not completely crazy. And there's again the dodge without actually having to hit any buttons. In fact, you'll notice Cloud's just kind of moving into position without hitting the analog, so he just automatically got into cover there. So, and at some point he's going to switch over to actually playing again mode. I forget when in the fight, forgive me.
I'm not sure what I think about that.
Well, this is part of why I called it like command mode, because that's what Dissidia would do too. You'd automatically dodge and move forward and move back and blah, blah, blah. So I believe... Hang on, give us the controller cam. Give us controller cam. You can do it. They can't do it. They hate us. They don't want us to see. I'm in favor of the option no matter what. So don't mistake me. I just probably will never use it other than to showcase it for testing purposes and reviewing purposes.
The only caveat I have is that I hope that auto dodge and auto guard are toggleable. I hope that, having some degree of interactivity there is an option that I'm in favor of.
That would be ideal. Is this... Okay, here we go. So now, okay, this is a good section for it. So this is him actually moving. And you can see, again, controller cam. You can see far more clearly this is what the action mode is like. And he's actually having to hold down block and move around and actually swing per swings as he's doing right there. You can actually see his thumb going nuts on the thing. A lot more obvious the differences between the two there. So, woo! I'm with it. I am legitimately with it. I'm happy they did it. And I'm glad I got to show that off. I'm just going to leave the initial section here playing a little bit because they showcase a little bit of how combat works. As you can see, that is to say entering combat. I'm sorry, let me use correct terminology because you just start off. Let me start off again. We're just hanging out here. It's over there. Yep.
Well, no, that's my point. That's why I said it should be an option. Because, you or I might think cutting out the filler options or filler actions is good. Because I do, but I also recognize that some people might want sort of a middle ground.
Excuse me, yawn attack. And this is the other reason I say this is probably the Kingdom Hearts 3 engine. And when I say engine, that's actually incorrect terminology. I shouldn't say that. I feel like this is the Kingdom Hearts 3 infrastructure would probably be a better way to put that. Because you notice there's no transition. Just the UI pops up and then goes away. That's the only difference between being in combat and out of combat.
Mm-hmm.
And as you can see, wait mode isn't actually a full pause. It's much more obvious there, as we are very slowly firing. 1 damage. Sorry. Activating combat mode. Ultima. Bonus points if you get it. And hey, there was something else here I wanted to show off. I don't actually remember what it was. So I'm just going to let this play here for a second. Kingdom Hearts 3. That's true. Kingdom Hearts 3 also had the wait mode. That's valid. I don't think I used it. I don't remember. Did I use it? Anyone remember?
No, you didn't.
I didn't think I would because it's not my style.
I don't think you even used wait mode in FF15 either.
I don't think I did.
Although, let's be honest, that was kind of half-baked compared to this.
Yeah, fair enough. How many parts will FF7 Remake be released in? The current common theories are 3 to 5. Anywhere between 3 to 5. Oh yeah, this is him showing off the burst thing, basically the break bar, which is an adaptation of the idea from FF13. You do certain types of attacks, and near as I can tell, it varies from enemy to enemy, which is actually pretty similar to FF13. But once you break them, as you can see, they just take a ton more damage, and then they fall over and die horribly.
Save your limit breaks for that.
Yep. I will have to see this in action, because the way this is going to be good is how they implement it. So I'm saving my thoughts on that. We'll see.
Based on all the demos that I've seen, it looks like a good change. It looks like it's different enough from 13 to that it's actually learned from it.
Oh yeah, sorry, someone actually mentioned this earlier. Yes, this is a PS4 exclusive game at the moment. I do say at the moment because Square has been pretty PC heavy for a while now, for 10,000 years at this point. So it really wouldn't surprise me if this does actually come out on the PC, but it won't for a while. In fact, I'd be surprised if it came out on PC in 2020 at all. Probably more like 2021. I also have no idea what their development cycle is going to be like, because while some of the hard stuff, quote-unquote, is already done for making this game, they're still going to have to make a lot of art assets, a lot of voice acting, a lot of animation, a lot of motion capture.
They've been pretty tight-lipped about what they've got done so far and what they haven't got done. I mean, we've seen reactor footage a lot, but other than that, we have no idea.
Yeah, exactly. Functionally, it's going to be basically making an expansion each one. And I've said before and I've said again, expansion effect is a good thing. It's just, We will see. Do I think they'll eventually introduce multiplayer like in Secret of Mana?
I hope so.
Yeah, no, I would love it if they did that, but they probably won't. If they do, it'll probably be local, just like Psalm does. Because for some reason, the idea of having online multiplayer is the realm of insanity that only Nintendo is doing.
How would that even work? Like, I don't think...
What, in 7?
The,
You just play as another
does
character.
No, yeah. When you say local, like...
Oh, probably
I
just
just
split
think-
screen, honestly. Just the easy way to do it. Yeah, no, I don't like split screen either, but that is the easy answer there. You can also...
go the extra step and do it online.
You could also do the... What's the name of that stupid, awesome game? You play like as a sock puppet guy, and Stephen Fry is the narration. Help me out, guys.
I feel like I know the game you're talking about, but
It's actually like 4 games. 1 on the PSP, 3 on the PS3.
Little Big Planet?
Little Big Planet. They could do it like Little Big Planet. Now, forgive me for emphasizing that specific game. But the point is they had this camera thing where the camera would kind of start to zoom out further and further the further around the players got. However, it had a limit. It would only go out so far. And at a certain point, one of the players would just get off camera. And that could actually work for a situation like this where the camera could just zoom out and probably up more and probably be taken away from the player's control entirely. So you can literally see, Barrett, and you can literally see Cloud, and that's how you know that you are controlling them, is because you can actually see them on camera. That's probably how they would do that.
My only issue with something like that would be they'd have 2 ways of doing that. Either the camera gets so far out because your characters are so far disconnected that you basically can't even see them anymore, or you get leashed.
Yep.
And I don't like that.
I don't either. The ideal would obviously be, non-local co-op, where you just have the camera be on the other person. Just saying, Square, it'd be awesome. But, whatever. I know, guys, I bash the co-op thing a lot, but the reason I bash it so hard and so often is it's actually pretty rare that you see good, proper co-op. I mean, name more than 2 good RPGs that have proper main co-op in them. I can name 2 off the top of my head.
I can name the same 2, but I'm
I was gonna say, I know. Yeah, Secret of Mana and Divinity Original Sin. I guess that's actually 2 games.
Oh, I was thinking Secret of Mana and Seiken Densetsu 3.
Oh yeah, there's also Seiken Densetsu 3. I've actually never played that with a friend. Sadly.
Really?
Sadly.
Yeah, it's good.
River City Ransom. You're funny. Diablo 3. Okay, I'll give you that. I wasn't thinking of that as an RPG, admittedly, but I'll give you that. Anyways, I'm just letting the game play a little bit here because you can kind of see how, some of the different combats work. Barrett obviously being focused on the ranged enemy, whereas the local enemies are the ones Cloud should be focusing on. Now, I do have a small concern, and that's the fact that the person you're not controlling seems to be dumb for the most part. I don't mean to I'm probably exaggerating that a little bit too much, but they are definitely suboptimal if you're not controlling them. I'm hoping... Oh, yeah, by the way, notice there's a combat log, too. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. Right after... Hang on, let me rewind a second. Give me just a bit. When I say combat log, what I mean is the end of combat log, and I'll pause it when it shows up, because it shows up really, really quickly. But yeah, I'm hoping that... There it is, right there, real quick. You can see there's the experience you gained, the gil, and it looks like a couple items you got. And it just shows up really quickly. And then it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually kind of with that. I mean, I'm the person who would mash through it in the actual original FF7 anyways. But yeah, getting back to my point. Look, I can bash exclusives all day long, Bopanix, and I will continue to do so until the end of time. So, moving on. And yeah, I know some of my viewers hate that, and I don't care. So, I mean, I would prefer if this game wasn't exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
What was I about to say? Gambits. It would be really nice if they added some kind of gambit mechanic to this. Now, I have seen nothing that indicates that. So,
Yeah,
shrug.
no, I don't think. Because, I mean, it's not in the menu.
Well, now, the one thing I did want to point out, and to my knowledge, no one has shown off, so there's battle settings.
Right, I did see that.
And I have not seen any footage of anyone selecting battle settings. Enemy report is probably just the What
The
do you call
bestiary.
it? Yeah, the bestiary. Thank you. Magic is obvious. Items is obvious. Status is obvious. Save and load is obvious. System is the options. But I've never seen anyone click on battle settings, so I actually have no idea what that is. Like I said, I really don't know.
Yeah, no idea.
And of course, this is all in Japanese, so I have no idea what half of this stuff is.
I know that a lot of English demos have gone through some of the options, so you might want to take a look at some of those, like off stream, but just for your own curiosity.
Anyways, yeah, I'm not sure where you set up materia unless that's in the magic menu or it's in the battle settings. As I have a sneezing attack, excuse me.
Oh gosh.
I also okay, that sucks. Something just occurred to me. It could be battle settings is equipment and materia. And that's all that is. Because, I mean, items could be equipment, but it feels weird to put equipment under items. And we know they have equipment. Because we have, if nothing else, we've seen Cloud use multiple swords in these various gameplay sections. And we know we can swap out materia because not only can you do so, but they've mentioned several times that you can actually, they'll actually physically show the materia in cutscenes that you have equipped.
Right.
I don't know. Short, yeah, that's true. Battle mode or battle settings could also be the Kingdom Hearts 3 shortcuts. Setting up what is where, you know?
I think devoting an entire option just to that and equipment and materia, I don't know, it just seems really wasteful. Seems like they'd have more in it.
Yeah, I don't know. Unfortunately, I really don't know, and that's the problem. I can only speculate so far, guys. Let's go ahead and move that. Now, that is actually all I've got for 7. It was only like 50 minutes to talk about.
Yeah. Shorter than I expected, actually.
Yeah, me too, to be completely blunt. Did I miss anything? Does anyone else have anything else that I missed, other than the fact that, as we all know, exclusives are awful? Excuse me. Like I said, nose. Because after this,
I can't wait to see Cloud in a dress. I really can't.
See, let's talk about that briefly, because there's a couple ways they could go with that. They could make Cloud look like, you've seen fan art, I'm sure, where Cloud basically looks like a woman. Just straight up looks like a woman. Or they could make him look like he does in the original, where he looks like a guy in a dress. And I'm actually, what I would love most is if the quality of the minigame you do, like how good you have, determines, like if you go full tilt and get all the best stuff, he looks full on like, oh yeah, super beautiful or whatever. But if you do the basic, just get the 2 base items, he just looks like Cloud in a dress. That would be awesome, in my opinion, if they pulled that off. IMO. And the Dawn juices, if anyways. Corneo's like,
Next year, Cloud is going to be the best looking guy there.
That's true. Oh my god. How do they handle the voice? Oh, god.
Thunderhead?
I was trying not to make that joke. What's your name, Thunderhead? Oh, even better. Anyways,
Oh my god.
I don't know how they're going to handle it exactly. I am very curious to know.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of potential for amusement there. The other thing I'm very curious about, as strange as this may sound, is the exact point they're going to chop off episode 1, basically. Because I've been thinking about this. There's actually quite a few possibilities. So they could have Rufus be the final boss and have that be the terminus point. And now we have to escape, which means they could either then have the escape after the final boss, or they could start episode 2 with a bang by having the escape. And then having the first boss of Motorhead being in episode 2. They could also have the escape in, but Motorhead being the final boss feels kind of strange. So they'd probably do something with that. The most obvious take, based on how they're going with this, is have Motorhead being, or whatever his name, I'm probably saying the wrong name. the boss being like controlled by Heidegger or something, thus making Heidegger the thematic last boss of episode 1. They could also cut it off at Calm.
I don't think they'd do that.
I don't think they will either, because Calm just feels like a strange diversement point. But the reason I even bring up Calm is because the one thing that will probably, like, is least likely to be in episode 1 is the overworld.
Yeah.
Now, Capdoc says the dude at E3 says it'll end at the escape from Midgar. Unfortunately, as I've just mentioned, that could be several different points.
Yeah. If I had to give an estimate, I would say Rufus is the last boss, and you play through the motorcycle chase, cut to black. And maybe, like, for episode 2 or whatever they're going to call it, you do it again, maybe, and then Motorhead is the first boss.
Wow.
Just kind of starting it off on a high point.
And unfortunately, and we actually talked about this when I was on Resonant Arc's stream, the problem is how they're going to handle levels going from 1 to 2 is also, and equipment and materia, is also a fairly large problem that we don't know an answer to yet. Like, are we going to finish Midgar at level 10, as we generally should be? Or is there going to be an actual level cap? Or will things transfer over fully? Will things transfer over partially? This is the problem with the episodic approach to this. As much as I hate this, it's the branch between the episodes that's the issue here, not the episodes themselves, in my opinion. I guess we'll see again in 6.5 months. Hopefully I'm getting that correct this time.
5.5. Yeah, 5.5.
Yeah, you're right. It is 5.5 months. Well, yeah, episode 2 could start with Calm, but again, as Cashel pointed out, and I've pointed this out several times myself, overworld. Are they going to even have an overworld? Because they could skip that. They don't necessarily need it. But if they do implement an overworld at all, how? Because, in my opinion, there's 3 broad options. Option number 1, they just embrace it and literally have, like, and then the camera zooms out or whatever, and then we have an overworld, right? Like
not even 10 years ago, Type 0 did that.
Yeah, exactly. The Type 0 thing.
Well,
that's a good way to put that.
Kind of.
So, option 1. Option 2, there's Final Cloud, who's subscribing. Option 2 is they have no real overworld. I'm trying to think how to phrase this. Basically, instead of an overworld, they have, let's call it a section, a zone, to use an MMO terminology. So there would be the outskirts of Midgar zone, and that would be the connecting point between Dew and Calm, and then there would be, like, I don't remember the name of it. These areas all have names in-game. So the area...
Kind of like FF12, but...
Actually, yeah, that's not a bad comparison, yeah. I am... so, yeah, like an MMO. But yes, like FF12, so there's just a zone in between each of the conjunctioning points. And option 3, which is the option I would like the least, but if I'm being blunt, is probably the most likely, is there's not only no overworld, there's no in-between zones.
Yeah, just seamless.
Yeah, and now we're in Calm. Okay, we're done with Calm, and now we're at the Chocobo Ranch.
Oh,
and
no, I thought you meant like an FF15 style.
No. I mean, I suppose that's valid as well. So I suppose that's the 4th option. Is they just
that
have...
option is incredibly unrealistic.
Yeah, there's no way they're gonna do that. There's no way, especially with the episodic thing. So no, what I meant by option 3 is like basically cutscene transitioning from zone to zone. Actually, kind of like FF13 did. Anyways, real quick,
like FF10 or FF13, yeah.
Yeah, 10 and 13. Thank you very much, Final Cloud. Sorry, much appreciate the sub, as always, sir. Thank you. If you know where you want to put that, let me know. Now, of these, I would say just embracing the overworld and transitions are the 2 most likely to happen. Embracing the overworld because, I mean, there's obviously going to be some fan appreciation of that, and it allows them to do a few things with that would enable them to embrace the silly as well as embrace the FF7. However, the transitions thing, I think, is actually even more likely, to be completely blunt. I think that's the most possible scenario. Actually making a zone in between, FF12-wise, that is also pretty possible, I would say. unfortunately, I have no way of even beginning to guess on this because nothing in FF7 approaches that concept until you leave Midgar. So we probably won't even know for like another year at the earliest.
If they do the terrible option, the transitions, I at least hope that they have some form of chapter select or, some way to return.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, even in FF10, you could use the save thing to warp back to previous areas, so something. Well, you got it, Final Cloud. Thank you again. Yes, the Dragon Quest XI approach and the FF12 approach are completely different from each other because the Dragon Quest XI approach is better.
Yeah, I'd say that.
I am being a little bit facetious. Basically, the Dragon Quest XI approach is the FF12 approach done better. That's really what it is. The biggest problem with FF12 was you'd go through a zone and then you'd hit a zone line, and then you'd be in another zone, which, while it might look visually similar, there's no, how do I say this? There's no sense of visual continuity. It doesn't feel like you've moved 10 feet. It feels like you're in another, like you've moved like a mile or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
In Dragon Quest XI, you'd hit a zone line, and then you could turn around and see where you just came from. An approximation of it, anyways. And you would actually feel where you were because you could see low resolution versions of the other parts of the overworld around you. It felt like an overworld, whereas FF12 did not.
Yeah, FF12 just feels like a bunch of disconnected zones.
And of course, obviously, Dragon Quest XI does have an actual overworld for when you go on the ship and on the thing that I won't talk about, the flying ship. We'll see.
I can't wait to play that, by the way.
11?
I'm waiting for the Switch version. Yeah.
I don't blame you. I know a few people who are. I prefer an overworld too, don't mistake me. It's just, like it or not, we're reaching the point where overworlds have kind of been obsoleted in game designers.
Yeah, they've outlived their usefulness at this point.
Yeah. Now, that being stated, if I'm being completely honest, if I was in charge, if I had absolute power and had conquered the world, first I'd give Rax a job. Second, Rax, I want you to make Kingdom Hearts 4. Go. Now, the second thing I would do... What? Okay, you're fired. No, the first thing I would do, what I would do with FF7, is I would take the Dragon Quest XI approach, I think. Because as much as I like an overworld as much as anyone else, I think using that way of having an overworld section, a zone, and again, Dragon Quest XI style, so you feel like it's part of the overworld. You can see where you're going, you can see where you've been, and there's a sense of actually moving through a location rather than just warping between zones.
Right.
And so there would be, the outskirts of Midgar, which you can run around in and explore and fight stuff and learn Matra magic from the one enemies, all that fun stuff. And then you could see Calm over there. You head to Calm, and then Calm would be in another zone. It would be a town, blah blah. You get the idea. Now, that would like I said, that would take, ironically, it would probably take the most work and effort of all the options we've outlined. So as usual, I recommend the option that takes the most work and effort because I'm insane. We were just talking about this with FF14 just last night. I want the one that takes the most work and effort, damn it.
You have unrealistic expectations, by the way.
Look, I'm just saying. No, but yeah, no, I do think that this is why I'd be a terrible boss. I do think that would be the ideal and is the least likely of the three options we mentioned. I'm predicting it'll just be transitions, just and then we got to Calm. I mean, if nothing else, they could, to reference FF12 again, they could literally have a narration section to bridge the gaps of transitions.
My problem with that is FF13, for example, did that and didn't really facilitate A, grinding, which is important as much as we all hate it.
Yeah.
B, the continuity of the world, which is important, and we all love that. So, I honestly think that the FF12 / Dragon Quest idea is not actually as unfeasible as you think. I think that designing the full seamless thing would be...
I suppose, I don't know. Because in addition to the additional art assets that would be involved, the ideal, I keep stressing that word, would be to make it so there's stuff to do there.
Right.
Rather than just
you've got to facilitate combat, minigames, chocobos,
now,
everything like that.
Actually, someone in chat did bring something up, and I wanted to address this too. You get an airship in FF7. Now, realistically speaking, just being completely honest, realistically speaking, what's most likely to happen is that'll be the FF10 airship. Now, for those of you who don't remember that, you get an airship at FF10, and it's a teleport hub.
Mm-hmm.
You just warp from zone to zone, and that's it. That's what the airship is. And that is probably the most realistic thing to expect out of this.
Unfortunately.
And I don't like it either. I'll just go ahead and be honest about that. Now, Cashel gets there before me. One of the things that the Dragon Quest series has done since 7, I believe is when they really first started doing this, is they have the overworld, sure, but then they have a second overworld. In fact, actually, Dragon Quest 7 has 3 overworlds. Now, what I mean by that is I don't mean like the overworld and the underworld of the moon.
No, yeah, it's got like an airship specific.
Yeah, it has a completely separate overworld that they have rendered just for when you're in the airship.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what Dragon Quest 8 did as well as 11. We just referenced that as well. So they could have a true overworld that's a completely separate render that you can use to fly around in once you get the airship. So that is actually feasible.
Yeah, they'd probably have a low detail render for something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I'd be completely fine with that.
Oh yeah, it works well in the Dragon Quest, so I see no reason it wouldn't work here. In fact, in Dragon Quest 8, so if I might be so bold, Dragon Quest 8 does not have an overworld in this traditional sense of the word. It does what we've been talking about, the zones thing, the 11 thing. But the advantage of that is that means that if you were to somehow miraculously paste all of the zones together, you would have a map of the world, which is what they did with the overworld. In other words, when you're flying around, you can literally see the path you've taken through the game and the mountains and the hills and all. It's one-to-one representative. Secret of Mana actually did the same thing, if you remember. So the idea of being able to do that in FF7 actually sounds pretty awesome to me. Like, you can fly around like, okay, so there's the mountain pass that I took to get from Nibelheim up to there, and there's this, and just, that would be cool. Even if it's lower res, which it almost assuredly would have to be, that would still be cool in my opinion. FF15.
The issue with that, Sonic, is FF15's world is actually really small when you get there.
Yeah, FF15 had a zone. One zone.
It was a big zone.
It was a big zone, but it was one zone.
That would basically be the equivalent of the initial area, from Calm to the Chocobo Farm to the Zalem. That's basically the size that we're talking about with FF15.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So that I don't think that's feasible at all, Sonic. I'm sorry. The only way that would be feasible is if they basically pulled a Just Cause 3 here. Now, I say 3, 2 does this as well. And the off chance those of you who have not played Just Cause, they use so Just Cause 2 and 3 both use the same concept. The whole world is there. There's no zone lines. It's all there, right? There's no transition. But what they do is there's basically a circle around you, which is constantly increasing the quality of the render the closer you get to it. Now, it's kind of crude in Just Cause 2, and to the point where you can quite literally, if you're staring at a mountain, you could see it like morphing and shaping into a higher polygon count as you're approaching it.
Yeah.
But that is how they manage that, is to have an actual, functional, you can just go there and do it overworld. I don't think they're going to do that with 7.
Oh, yeah, I doubt that.
I mean, that'd be neat. But if they are going to do that, they would... I say would. In my opinion, they should include Midgar in that overall approach, which is pretty unlikely.
That would be massive.
Yeah. So...
that's 2 discs by itself massive.
And I'm not ignoring you, Max Time. I just don't have anything to say about it. Ugh. I'm trying to talk around feasibility and reasonability.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to just... And of course, then Max Time leaves. I will say the biggest... So, opinion time, real quick, since we're still talking about the overworld thing. In my opinion, I'm going to ask Rax his opinion first. Rax, what's your opinion on the purpose of an overworld?
Oh god, I touched on this earlier. I said that they have outlived their usefulness because I mean we haven't really seen them so much in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. But at the same time, I do recognize that some people A, like them for the nostalgia factor, and B, they are still in a way used to get around constraints. That said, this game does not have constraints. This game is not Type 0. It's not on the PSP. We're not going to have issues like that.
Now, in my opinion, there's two benefits to an overworld. One is from a code perspective and one's from a player perspective. The code perspective is obvious. It's a map selector, basically. Mm-hmm. Super Mario Brothers 3, right? One of the older overworlds we have an example of. You can literally see, here's grassland, and here's 1-1 and 1-2 and 1-3 and blah, blah, blah. And it enables the developers to basically lock away in active memory as well as in general rendering each specific zone and keep them segregate, but at the same time allowing for a degree of continuity between them, which brings me to the player benefit, which is, and I've already said this, visual continuity.
Mm-hmm. It gives a sense of, I don't want to say immersion because PS1 RPGs aren't necessarily immersive when it comes to their world maps.
I actually am going to challenge that. I think it is actually immersive.
Well, I think it's more immersive than cut to black, go to the next zone.
Exactly. That's exactly my point. In fact, maybe immersion's not the right word, but believability is. Because when you literally leave Midgar and go east and north for like 20 seconds, it's not even that far, and you see Calm, and you can tilt the camera and see where Midgar is. Like I said, it adds that degree of visual continuity to say, aha, I have gone this way. And I don't know, I know I've talked about this a lot, especially lately, but when a game doesn't have a strong sense of visual continuity, it bugs the crap out of me.
Oh, me too.
So in my opinion, that's the benefit of the overworld. Now, this is one of the reasons why I say doing the Dragon Quest XI thing would work, because it would accomplish the same benefit.
Yeah. I do think a lot of people would get kind of hung up on the scale issue.
Probably.
Because, I mean, if you just had a tiny little, dinky little thing in order to run around in to go fight monsters or whatever, I mean, that's not satisfying, at least to me.
No. I will also say, so while we're discussing this, let's just go full hog tilt. We've already talked about the airship. We actually get two other ships in this game, if you'll remember. One of them on ground and one of them on the water. Mm-hmm. So there's a couple of ways we could approach that. We could just have them be, vehicles. You need the buggy to get over the sand. It literally to get across the rivers, because that's its only purpose in the original game. And you need the
tiny Bronco.
Tiny Bronco, thank you. Couldn't think of the damn name of it. But you need the tiny Bronco to get to Wutai, and I think also to get to the northern continent, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Yeah.
But the point is, in the actual original game, they were just, let's be honest, they were keys. We have now unlocked this new area to explore. So we could still do that, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But we could also try to expand upon that. Or we could make it a cutscene, which I think is truly the best option, and just take all gameplay or playing out of the equation. I'm kidding. Although it is a possibility. They could just make it a cutscene that happens in between Zack's hometown, which I can't think of the name of right now, and
Gungaga.
Gungaga, that's it. Between Gungaga and Cosmo Canyon, for example.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even want to get into that, Sonic. I really don't. We could also make it fully usable. And we could, if we wanted to spend as much time and money on this as possible, and I'm always in favor of that option.
Mounted combat.
I'm kind of, yeah. Like, make it...
I mean, can you imagine being on the tiny Bronco and fighting, like, sea monsters?
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
And maybe make it so that, for example, like, if you can kind of control the ship a little bit, so you can tilt it around to either reposition or, for example, get them with the propellers or something. Yeah. Just oh my god, or in the the thing on ground that I can't think of the name of all of a sudden, the buggy. Make it so that you're trying to you might want to just escape from the enemies. You don't even care about fighting them, or maybe you're trying to maneuver through this area and like the terrain is the obstacle. Make it a pseudo platformer kind of a section.
Mm-hmm.
Just something, right? Just food for thought, because we've talked a lot about FF7R, but the more I think about everything after Midgar, the more I realize that there's a lot of questions that the developers have probably already had extensive meetings on deciding what they're going to do with them.
I would hope so, because, I mean, I know that a lot of people are really worried about we don't know how many parts it's going to be talking point.
Yeah, that is a very valid point. It's also worth noting that FF7, while it doesn't have a huge amount of optional stuff, does have a decent amount of optional stuff, and whether or not they'll maintain that is another question. Like, immediately after you leave the mountain caves past Column, I can't think of what they're called, you can go to the reactor. I can't think of anything's name today.
You can go to Junon, you can go to Forest to get Yuffie.
And there's a third one. It's
There's a third one?
It's the RTS minigame.
Oh, Fort Condor.
Fort Condor, thank you. So that's two optional things right there after Mount Mithra Mines. Oh, it is. Oh, yeah, right. We could go to Fort. So is Fort Condor going to be there at all? How are they going to deal with the RTS minigame? In fact, while we're on the subject, how are they going to deal with the bike minigame that's in Midgar?
What are they going to do with the gold saucer?
Yeah, the gold saucer is just, that's a huge question. And then, of course, we've got, whether or not Yuffie will be obtainable then or optionally, because they could make Yuffie mandatory, just like they might make Vincent mandatory. There's a weirdly, FF7 is one of the most amounts of optional content of the mainline FFs.
Mm-hmm.
There is a huge amount of stuff that is completely unnecessary as you go through FF7. And there's a lot of things they could do with that.
I think the only FF that actually rivals it in terms of a question like this would probably be 6.
Honestly,
At least
yeah.
for the World of Ruin.
Yeah, because pretty much the entire world of Ruin is optional, and you're right, in the same manner. And so, then they get to Junon, obviously, which is its own huge section. That lines up pretty neatly. I don't think Junon will be a huge deal. Although I'm curious how exactly they're going to do the parade sequence. Because I don't know about you guys, but I always suck at the parade sequence every time I play that. Every single time. Then we get on the boat, and we have another comedic section right before a horror section. And then we have Costa del Sol, which is like 99% optional, if you remember. Like, once you, in gameplay, all you have to do is you get there, and then you leave.
Yeah, I don't even think you have to talk to Hojo.
Nope, you can just straight up leave. But, there's a lot that you could do in Costa del Sol. And each side character who is not in your party member has their own little thing they're doing while you're there. And just... You get my point. I could go down the list, but you get my point. There is a huge amount of discussion that can and should be done about this game, and I have no idea what they're going to do about it. I picture the meetings they've been having, probably for months, about how exactly they're going to handle all this stuff.
Yeah, that team is going to have to work miracles.
No kidding. And that's, if I might be so bold, this is the final reason why, as weird as this may sound, I think they made a mistake with this approach with the FF7 Remake. Don't mistake me. I'm looking forward to it, and it'll probably be a good game. But they have set the bar... I mean, I'm ambitious, and I think they set the bar too high. The way they are trying to remake this game as, and I'm just going to say this bluntly, Kingdom Hearts 3 and FF7 has shoved the bar so high that this is going to be hard to maintain. Because the more I think about it, I should rephrase this. The more I think about this, the more it feels like Midgar is the easy part. Really. Most of Midgar is fairly self-contained, fairly linear, and mostly just involves story beats and combat beats, and nothing that you really have to work at or adapt. Not really. Yeah. And then you leave Midgar, and then the problems just start mounting up. And that's the problem here. Now, don't mistake me, I'm not trying to be doom and gloom. I feel bad for these guys.
Oh, yeah. This, in terms of both the amount of publicity this game is getting and the amount of work that they're doing, this blows FF14, 13, everything probably back to the original 7 out of the water.
Oh, yeah. Honestly, Blue Wolf Alex, I would have been satisfied with a, as I've called it many times, an FF4DS approach to FF7. Tune up the graphics. They got plenty of new graphics options. Add, flesh out cutscenes. Maybe add some additional depth to the combat, and fix the translation. Done. That's all I was really asking for. This is insane what they're going for. So we'll see.
I don't even think I would have done as much as they are doing.
Yeah. Now, final question, because I swear I was leading up to something here. If they, those people can suck at Nero's House. If they were, why wouldn't people be happy with that? Honest question. With a proper remake done in the style of FF4DS. Have you played FF4DS? Especially in comparison?
It's really good.
Yeah, they basically did. There's a reason I call it the proper remake.
Mm-hmm.
What would your thoughts be? Honest question, and this goes for you as well, obviously, Rex. If they are doing, let's call this the Kingdom Hearts 3 approach to Midgar, and then they pull back to the FF4DS approach for everything else.
Oh, that...
Yeah, you see why I'm asking this. Because
that breaks my heart, because a lot of people, now that the precedent has been set, a lot of people think, they're doing this for the game.
Yep.
So when you scale that back, that's a lot of disappointment you're setting up.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm going to go and say, I'm just going to put this on record as I say that that's a possibility. I think that might actually happen. What's even more likely is they just quit before it's done.
Oh.
Sorry, but that is actually
that's
pretty likely.
Hell, I wasn't even thinking this was coming out. I thought this was going to be another Versus 13.
Yep. Yeah, no, this could be a project that never finishes. I mean, it also could be a Xenogears, for those of you who have not played Xenogears. Xenogears in Disc 2 is a series of cutscenes, basically. Mm-hmm. Because they couldn't finish the game for various reasons I'm not going to go into right now. So they were just like, here. And then... Yeah. Like, this is a possibility.
The cops are coming after me for bad-mouthing FF7.
I knew it!
But honestly,
I think it's 2 gig games. Sorry.
I do think that they did kind of start off on the wrong foot.
Yeah.
When it came to... Oh my god.
Now there's a fire engine.
Go ahead. I'm going to mute myself for a second.
All right. So to kind of push... It's one of my own thoughts on the matter here. I think that this... Don't mistake me. Please don't mistake me. I want this to be a good game. I want these to be good games. And I am hopeful. And in fact, I would go so far as to say that I am very certain that Part 1 will be good. I have high certainty I'm going to enjoy the Midgar section. But in Reality Land, as much as I hate to keep calling it that, in Reality Land, in the land of budget and time and resources, this is a monumental undertaking that I don't have faith they're going to complete. Which, I mean, like I said, they could pull a Xenogears. They could try to scale back, which honestly they're probably not going to do. But they could also just quit, which could happen. But they also have, and Rax just said this, and forgive me for kind of supplanting you here, because I am your superior, but...
No, go for it.
But they started off on the wrong foot in almost every way. Because first they announced this way too early. Now, I know a lot of you disagree with me on that, but I do think that there is a reasonability range, and FF7R was announced way too early. And what's funny is, if you remember, the announcement was literally just, we're working on it, and nothing else. Like the original announcement.
Out, it'll be 4.5 years since the original.
Yeah, that is, in my opinion, that was mistake number one. Because, if I might speak on marketing for a second, just from a purely business perspective, for a project like this, obviously you don't want to announce it the day it comes out. But for something like this needs to be a surprise. Because if you're doing a major retake of an old classic, no matter what you do, you're going to have people who are disappointed or don't like it or prefer the original or whatever. And the best way to mitigate that is to not give them a chance, so to basically to make it so that that crowd stays as small as possible by limiting expectations.
Yeah.
Hence, this is the kind of thing that honestly, in my opinion, should have been announced last week. Give them the 5 months.
I'd say this E3.
I could see this E3.
That'd give them 9 months, and
Yeah.
I don't think that's really enough time for that sort of negative base to kind of latch onto it and dig into it.
I'll give you that. So either this year, one way or the other. This year is when it should have been announced. 1 year at the absolute most of time to build up to it, and then bam! Because I guarantee you, if all of the sudden this E3, hey, by the way, here's FF7R and here's some gameplay, and we saw the gameplay that we actually saw that was ready to go, people would have been like, oh my god, yes! But instead we've had, as Rax points out, almost 4 years at this point. As of
Square's been doing this for a while. Like,
Yep.
9, 10, 11, those were all announced at the same time. That was back in 99. 11 didn't come out until 2002, to give you an idea.
Yeah.
The 13 games had this same problem. Versus 13 then became 15 around the same time that Kingdom Hearts 3 was announced. Then 15 came out. Then Kingdom Hearts 3 came out after the FF7 Remake. They keep doing this, and they just need to stop. They need to just, high-profile release. Okay, breather period. High-profile release. Okay, breather period.
Now, Huthor has a valid point. Shocking. But I'm also going to disagree with him. Because let's say Huthor brought that up in the meeting room. We need to release this early to gauge the hype, to determine how many resources we should put towards this.
They were already going to put so many resources to it. It's FF7.
Yeah, I in this exact case, I would disagree with that. Because in this exact case, I think FF7 is justified. Not because of my own opinion, but because FF7 is the most popular FF, period, bar none.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that is going to have enough interest, and it will sell very well. I guarantee Episode 1 will be a very well-selling game.
That is probably the one redeeming point. The fact that this is FF7 and the fact that this is going to sell well are probably the two redeeming points for the idea that this might actually continue to the end.
Yeah.
Rather than just be abandoned.
Yeah, fingers crossed on that, really. Oh, I suppose I didn't actually mention this. I agree, Dakota. The other possibility with how they deal with this going forward, how would you feel if they just start chopping out significant chunks of the game? Basically making FF7, in terms of overall narrative, shorter. Even though the FF7R would obviously be longer.
You'd have to be very careful with what you cut out.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's not a lot of dead time in 7 original.
Which is funny, because it was a very well-paced game, though. You're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
But that is another possibility. They could try to shrink the events that happen.
Mm-hmm. I think they'll still keep the same general bullet points if they do something like that. But yeah, that is also another worrying possibility.
I can name one thing they could chop that wouldn't be a substantial loss right off the top of my head. Golden Saucer. I know.
You know a lot of people are expecting it, though.
Oh, I am, too. I actually enjoy the Golden Saucer, despite the music.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to admit, the Golden Saucer is going to be a lot of work by itself. Yeah. Never mind the story thread that goes through Golden Saucer. Ignore that for a second. That could easily be, you go from Barrett's hometown, I can't think of the name of, to the prison, and then on to Gungaga. There's not a lot of need for the saucer itself to be in there. So they could literally have the Golden Saucer be visible in the background and you just don't go there, or something in a similar manner. And it's like, all right, well, we've been accused of horrible things and now we're in the prison, and then they have the prison section. Because I do agree the prison section absolutely should be, and it's very mandatory for Barrett's character arc.
Yeah.
But the Golden Saucer itself?
They'd need to do some rejiggering with the keystone if they do something.
They would take some work, don't mistake me, but I think it would be relatively easy to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
So Now, again, to be clear, I don't want this to happen. Let me make that opinion very clear.
This is like last ditch,
Yeah, this is okay. If we need to cut some fat, where is fat to cut?
Mm-hmm.
So, speaking of which, Wu-Tai?
As much as I like Yuffie as a character and I like how Wu-Tai fleshes that out, I would say yeah.
Yeah. Now, Pave Maniac says cut Gungaga, which I could also see, especially since it's optional, by the way. But, and while we're on the subject, Fort Condor could go entirely.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's really only relevant for the huge materia, which there's so much else you can do with that. Yeah, you could cut the Ancient Forest, you could cut... There's a lot of optional dungeons you can just completely cut out.
Right.
Obviously, again, in most of these cases, it would take some rejiggering, but I want to talk about Gungaga specifically, because... Well, one of the things... Let's just keep talking about this. Is everyone cool? Continuing talking about FF7?
Go for it.
Zack. Now,
yeah.
Zack... So let me just go ahead and say, Zack's actually one of my favorite characters in FF7. He's adorkably awesome. I love him.
Mm-hmm.
They even did him well in Birth by Sleep. So, Zack's awesome. But if you remember, in the original FF7, Zack was barely present. In fact, the only actual character stuff he got was optional.
Yeah, it was optional. And I believe it was... Did he even have any dialogue in that?
He did. Scene? He did. He talked to Cloud.
No. Yes, he did in the truck.
Yep. He was telling him, we're going to go and we're going to be, not bounty hunters, whatever Cloud called himself. Giving the idea of where Cloud got that idea from. But yeah, Zack was barely in FF7 original. In my opinion, Zack should have more presence in FF7R.
I mean, if they're doing it for Sephiroth, yeah, absolutely do it for Zack.
Yeah, they really need to do it for Zack. The Mercenary, thank you. Now, the catch is how exactly you accomplish that. Flashbacks are the obvious answer, but in my opinion, the even more obvious answer is extended Princess Peach sections.
So I know this would never, ever, ever happen. What if you got to Gongaga, the game just suddenly flashed back and you played a day in the life of Zack?
So it's funny you say that. I was kind of thinking something similar. I actually agree with that, Blue of Alex. I was thinking something similar, but basically make there be... In FF7 original, periodically we listen to Real Cloud. He talks in our head every now and again.
Right.
I love the idea of periodically, and we'd have to think about exact points, but periodically we'd have a section where you just go play as Zack for a bit. Basically in the same general... Yeah, the count already got there. The same general approach, gameplay-wise, to the Laguna sections in FF8.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Don't explain it at first. Just kind of, we're playing. There's this other guy who's got a giant Buster Sword. And it's, okay, whatever. And he's Zack, who acts completely differently than Cloud.
Yeah.
So, and then it cuts back to Cloud. He's just, there's ways... Go ahead.
That makes me wonder, a lot of people are going to be playing this as their first exposure to FF7, which is weird to you or I, but it's got to be a lot weirder to, see the whole Zack thing for the first time, if they did something like this.
Yeah. And yeah, Pave Maniacs, that's a valid point. There's several scenes where Real Cloud showed up, as well as Genova Cloud, and those have been replaced by, the feather falling, for example. So we'll see what they do with it, but I would love... you guys know I'm a huge fan of Princess Peach sections in general. I would love playable Zack sections. Takoida showed an interesting idea, and I like Takoida's idea. Have it initially look like Cloud, act like Zack, talk like Zack, but it's physically Cloud.
And they did that in the Nibelheim flashback.
They did. You're absolutely right, because we were playing as Zack for several sections of Nibelheim, but we looked like Cloud. So yeah, I think that would actually be a cool way to do that, and to kind of have that transition a little bit as we get to the point. And then, of course, the big reveal in the Northern Crater towards the two-thirds part of the game was when they finally make that no really. But yeah, exactly, Sonic Doctrine. It's like, well, hang on a second. So I think that would be extremely cool, personally. And no, the count is correct. We don't want it overly complicated, which is a damn
Yeah,
shame.
no.
But because my first thought is, what if we cherry picked the good parts of Crisis Core to play as Zack?
Admittedly, that was actually my second thought.
And I stress the cherry picking because I think most of us can agree that while Crisis Core had its good parts, it also had its bad parts.
Did you know that dumb apples grew on these trees?
Hang on, I need to stab my cohort here really quick. But when I say the Crisis Core sections, to be mostly clear, what I mean is the backstory. Whether it's mostly shown in Crisis Core, the elements of Sephiroth's development, Zack's moving up through the ranks, Jenna Who? I've never even heard of that. More showcasing of Wu-Tai, that kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just little tidbits here and there. And of course, we have to have Loveless. Loveless has to be in the game. I mean, that's right.
No,
hang on. Let me look up.
No. Don't even start.
Infinite in mystery is the gift of the goddess. We seek it thus, and take to the sky ripples form on the water surface.
Are you done?
I'm done. But yeah, no. Eject Angeal, he's unnecessary. Eject Genesis, he's crap for many reasons. Keep Sephiroth before. That's important, I think. Although I would probably save that. So structurally speaking, I would have the sections where we find out about Sephiroth before probably pretty late in the game. Mm-hmm. Probably post Meteor, I would say. Keep Zack, obviously. Keep Shinra. Keep the Turks. Mm-hmm. I actually got a question on Tumblr if I wanted Sesai or however you say her name, to be in it.
To be in the remake. I saw that, yeah.
And I mean, I'd be in favor of that for the same general reason I mentioned. The Dirge of Cerberus stuff? Okay. No, is my first thought. But to talk about that a little bit more.
Doing somewhat of an epilogue would actually be pretty interesting.
I agree. I mean, I'm one of those people who actually really dislikes FF7's ending. But the problem with Dirge of Cerberus is if we sit back and look at it, the elements it adds to the story are deep core.
That's it.
Hang on. The internet is actually the first time we heard about the fact that there is an internet in FF7's world was in Dirge of Cerberus. Or Deep Ground, Deep Ground. And we got, this is also when they invented Grimoire, or whatever he called it, Vincent's dad.
Yep.
And a little bit of world building on Rufus helping to restore the world and what Reeve has been up to, and Hojo being actually pretty awesome. And I suppose I should also add, this is when they started talking about Chaos being an actual counterpart to, I forget what they called it. What was the name of the final boss death thing that was destroying? Was it Omega?
I think it was Omega, yeah.
Okay, so Omega, that aspect of things, which honestly I'd be fine with them just ejecting that entirely. Mm-hmm. I don't need or want that in my FF7.
Honestly, Dirge of Cerberus adds nothing.
Yeah, that's
redeeming value to FF7 at all.
That's my problem. The only things I liked from Dirge were the implications of world building, which I already mentioned. And that was all stuff that was already kind of being hinted at in Advent Children, so it's kind of redundant.
Mm-hmm. And even Advent Children has some of these problems.
Yeah, Advent Children... yeah. let's not talk about that one.
The less said about the compilation besides Crisis Core, the better. And honestly, include Crisis Core with that.
Yeah. Which, of course, brings out the final thing I wanted to talk about. I swear it's the last thing. I swear to God, because I got DS9 to work on. I personally, I'm going to say an opinion, and I'm curious of your guys' thoughts on the same thing I'm giving the opinion on. I would be okay with them effectively rewriting the history of FF7 in character, in lore. So the compilation was intended to flesh out the world, and then it did so, and then it was the compilation. I would be okay with them basically throwing all of that out the window and doing it again, basically. And I don't mean like making a new compilation. I mean, they sat down and said, okay, here's what the Turks were, here's what Avalanche was, there's no Genesis, this is where Sephiroth was coming from.
Yeah,
basically
fleshing it out again as a standalone.
Exactly, that I'd be okay with, personally. What do you guys think?
That's a lot to ask.
Now's the time, Hazardous. Sorry.
Because I know that the Nojima, the guy writing the story, I know he could do it.
Yeah.
But my problem is Nojima and Nomura working together on an FF7 property. It's kind of a recipe for not changing that.
Yeah. In fact, several people have mentioned the options of DLC. It wouldn't surprise me. Damn it, Halo. It wouldn't honestly surprise me if they are approaching this from a DLC perspective. In short, here's the base game, and here's a DLC where you can see Zack's story, and here's a DLC where you can experience the before crisis, and right? I mean, that there's a logic there. It's like Cord. Cord understands. Thank you very much, Cord, for the sub. Much obliged as always, sir. Thank you. You don't have to sub to me, though, if you're having money issues. You know how it works. Also, I assume you want to put that towards KOTOR?
Yeah, I'm really not sure if I would like to see a DLC approach like that, honestly. Because I do want this to just be standalone. But at the same time, like, there's so much to cover that it just seems kind of inevitable.
Let's assume that this was a choice. Mm-hmm. Let's assume I am super not watching that show, Vigilant. I have been told by multiple friends not to watch that show. So that's my answer to that one. And thank you very much, Vigilant. So, what was I saying?
You've been told by several friends that...
No, that's The Boys.
Or, no, you...
By the way, I was talking about The Boys show, the TV show.
Oh, my bad. I'm losing my goddamn mind. I've been up for about 28 hours at this point.
I know the feeling, as it happens. I've been having trouble all day. So, okay. Thank you, Vigilant. Thank you, Cord. What if the option was between basically rewriting the backstory and history of FF7, or, how do I phrase this as simply as possible, ejecting it entirely? In short, if you pay attention, while there was some backstory references and story stuff written for FF7, the original, most of that was not fleshed out, even in the makings of FF7. That came later. So going back to ground, basically, going back to the core point of just FF7 and not bothering to explain any of the backstory or stuff.
I don't necessarily think it needs to be so black and white.
I don't either, but, you know.
They could kind of cherry pick.
If the retcon is awesome. I mean, the presumption is always the writing is good, because if the writing is bad, then the writing is bad. And nothing else needs to be said. As someone actually mentioned the idea of streamlining FF7, I'm actually curious what of FF7's story would need streamlining, as weird as that may sound. As I've said before, I find FF7 to be a very well-paced game.
It needs to be half the length, because I like Chrono Trigger too much or something.
Look, Chrono Trigger is awesome.
Chrono Trigger is amazing.
It is also a very well-paced game, in my opinion, although Valvedrix disagrees with me on that. What do you guys think? I mean, I've seen a few people saying yes, get rid of it. I'm saying other people saying yes, get rid of it.
Considering all the baggage that comes with it, I'd also be inclined to say yes.
Unfortunately, I would also lean that way. Although, I do, as a writer, I would prefer to rewrite the backstory. Because that's what I would want to do.
Yeah.
But from, oh, hang on. Let's get some music. I just realized I haven't had music going this whole time. But from a design perspective, I would have to admit that it would probably be... this is already, as I've said already, this is a hugely overambitious project.
Mm-hmm.
Adding even more to that is just going to make it even worse. However, I do have to point out, they did already mention Wutai. Our sworn enemies, Wutai.
Mm-hmm.
So they're already doing something with the backstory that the original didn't. Like, proof positive. So, we'll see?
Yeah, I suppose, honestly, seeing more of Zack would probably be the make or break for that.
Agreed. I could accept reintroducing several things if it meant good Zack stuff. That would be the price for that, basically. I think that's everything I have to say about that. I think we're finally... There's nothing else to say about FF7.
I've covered basically everything.
So really quickly, Hazardous is talking about how an actual report... So last week, a report came out... Actually, I think it was 2 weeks ago now. A report came out in the UK decrying loot boxes by stating that they're actually addictive and they actually are a form of gambling and blah, blah, blah. And in this case, they actually did reach out to medical doctors in order to receive medical opinions.
Pay close attention. Hopefully you'll learn something.
Okay, the Count, what the hell? Thank you very much, the Count. Much appreciate the support as always, sir. Thank you. And I'll put that towards Pokemon Shield, which we've got a couple months for, so that's good. Hopefully I'll be done by then. I better be done by then. I'm way behind if I'm not. I don't have anything to say about that Hazardous. That's why I didn't really bring it up. Because at this point, it's just another report has been released. This one happens to be mentioning actual medical information, and it disagrees with the findings that loot boxes are not gambling, and EA is already contesting it. Which, I just want to stress that, by the way, in case you missed that, EA is contesting a medical report by doctors about the nature of loot boxes being gambling.
Yeah, that sounds like what they would do these days.
Yeah. Anyways, point being that EA is still horrible. Damn it, Brakeman.
Absolute state of this industry sometimes.
Oh yeah, it's horrible. The whole industry has so many issues. Oh yeah, that's right. The GSA. Oh god, what's the name? Is it the ESA?
Entertainment Software Association.
I think that's it. Yeah, the ESA is also contesting this, which is hysterical. Bloodstained. Thank you, Brakeman. I said when they first started getting into the legality of this, I said, I hope this doesn't get pushed further. And the reason why I said that is because when the government gets involved, things get bad.
Yep.
This is not an opinion. This is a proven pattern of legislation. Now, unfortunately, the only way for things to not get worse, when I said that, which at this point was, I think, 3 years ago now, I think it was actually 4 years ago now. The point I was making at the time was the industry and the companies needed to regulate themselves. They needed to self-regulate and pull the reins back themselves instead of letting it get so bad as to get this. Instead, what has been happening, most of the major companies, including all the ones represented by the ESA, have been pushing even harder, which isn't just allowing the government to get involved, it's actively pushing things to get worse.
Yep, it's setting a bad precedent.
Yeah, this is bad, guys. This is not good. I mean, what in God's name? Ugh. And in related news, we found the red star. It's just kind of hovering up there for some reason, and I mean, would it be that wrong if Lavos just came down right now? And don't worry, he'll land in Antarctica. There's nobody there.
It's arguably worse.
That is arguably worse, you're right.
Because, I mean, that's a slow death by flooding and warming.
Now, I will say something. Actually, Hazardous mentioned something, and I do want to mention this as well. The big three have actually been, weirdly enough, trying to basically get kudos points or brownie points by not being EA and not being 2K games. To be clear, what the big three, that's Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo, they're not innocent in all this. They are not completely hands-free, but they are being way more open and way less predatory than 2K Games, Warner Brothers, EA, Blizzard, Activision. There's a pretty clear dividing line of acceptability between those two groups.
Right.
So, it is my opinion that the reason for that is not because it's the right thing to do, of course, because why would a company of any kind give a damn about morality, but because they say what I have already told you, that getting the government involved is a bad thing, and they're trying to mitigate the damage that 2K Games and EA and Activision Blizzard are doing. That's my opinion, I don't know. But if they at least get ahead of this, ahead of the wave, they might be able to mitigate some of the damage that is already being done. For those of you who don't know this, by the way, if you've watched Jim Sterling, you already are probably aware of this, but the recent 2K Games basketball game, I don't know what it's called, don't ask me, the advert they released for that, the trailer, is disgusting, because it literally shows actual NBA players playing the game, and of course getting way into it, fake, etc. And as they're doing so, they're like, oh man, I get to play this slots machine thing to get a new player for the team.
God.
And they're like, I don't know how to properly do this without literally dissecting it, but trust me when I say it is incredibly manipulative. It literally goes straight from, here's this awesome gameplay to the slots machine, and then to the guy who's having a lot of fun to the game, and then to the pachinko machine thing they got going on. And it keeps the beat going, so it's constantly weaving in the gambling, because that's what it is, into the narrative of the game. And yeah, as of course, during the trailer, the people playing not only win, but they win big, because of course they do.
Yep.
It's disgusting.
Yeah, that's as bad as many mobile app or mobile game ads I've seen.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's a reason I keep starting with 2K Games, not EA. EA's bad, but they have been surpassed. 2K has been bad for a while.
Yep.
And they have gotten worse. But on the plus side, FF7R is coming out next year.
I got stuff to play in the next 6 months. Five and a half months.
Oh, I got a billion things to do. I've got 80 episodes of Star Trek to get through.
Yeah, I've also got work. Got a life.
What? A life?
Yeah, I don't know what it is either. I'm trying it out.
I don't think that's a controversial opinion, Hazardous. I'm going to go ahead and chop this up. We have been talking for a while, so